Well, anyway, I learned the answer to the question, what does a doctor do when a doctor needs a doctor?
This is another in the adventures of America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator, Johnny Dollar. At insurance investigation, Johnny Dollar is only an expert. At making out his expense account, he's an absolute genius.
Expense accounts submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to American Volunteer Liability Insurance Company, Hartford, Connecticut. Attention, Homer Shalley, General Manager. The following is an accounting of my expenditures during my investigation of one of your policyholders, Dr. Otto Schmedlich. Or, an apple a day sent the doctor away. Or, it couldn't have happened to a bigger worm. Expense account, item 1. 80 cents cab fare to your office in answer to your call. Tip to driver, $1.
Oh, morning, Mr. Dollar.
Hiya.
Go right in. Mr. Shalley's expecting.
Thanks, sir.
Good morning, Dollar.
Good morning.
Sit down.
Thank you.
I'm sorry we had that unfortunate altercation over the last expense account you submitted to this office.
Oh, that's all
Of course,
right.
it was ridiculous. You're going around tipping cab drivers $1 after a 50-cent trip.
Well, you know me, Homer. Just a silly, headstrong, impetuous boy.
It was somebody else's money, yes. We've been through all that. What I want to talk to you now is, policy. Oh, here it is. Dr. Otto Schmedlich, Los Angeles, California.
California? Doesn't anything ever happen in Hartford? I've been using an airplane seatbelt so much lately, I'm about ready to throw away my suspenders.
Dr. Otto Schmedlich. I suppose you're familiar with the existence of that type of insurance policy which protects doctors against charges of malpractice.
Yeah, I've heard of them.
Well, we had the rare misfortune of issuing such a policy to this quack Schmedlich.
Well, what do you want me to do? Go out and take his temperature?
Dollar, when I want to laugh, I tune in Jack Benny. Now, this is serious. The policy we issued to Dr. Schmedlich only covers him up to the extent of what is construed as accidental malpractice. If we can prove criminal malpractice, we can cancel the scoundrel's policy.
Do you have a good reason to think it's criminal, or are you just toying with a happy thought?
Look, our company has already paid off on 2 claims. Recently, we've heard rumors about this man. It seems the Medical Association is watching him very closely. But so far, no one can prove anything. Now, Dollar, do you want the assignment?
No, but I'll take it. Expense account, item 2, $194.04. Airfare, Hartford to Los Angeles. Item 3, $4.50. Cab fare, Los Angeles Airport to the Sun Tower Medical Specialist Building, which I first spotted looming through the smog on Wilshire Boulevard, high in the high-rent district of the City Beautiful. Item 4, 55 cents, 11 nickels. Spent telephoning the Schmedlich office at 15-minute intervals until I at last found the doctor not in. In California, the doctors really specialize. And the buildings they work in sometimes really make the most of it, as I found out in the elevator going up.
Second floor, eye, ear, nose, and throat. Doctors Care, Kreider, Whitetis, and Osterban.
Pardon me.
Third floor, fractures, strains, sprains, and dislocations. Doctors Fowler, Woodruff, Toigo, and Brown.
Oh, pardon me.
Fourth floor, obstetrics, orthopedic, pediatrics, and general practice. Dr. Small, Collier, Reynolds, Frank, Stanley, Feinbaum, and Schmedlich.
Would all these medical terms you just tossed off by any chance mean that we have now arrived in the land of the mechanized stork?
To put it crudely, yes.
Thank you, Jack Armstrong.
Good afternoon.
Hello. Dr. Schmedlich in?
Well, no, I'm sorry, he isn't.
Oh, good. I mean, that's too bad.
Just what do you mean?
Well, I meant to say that, since the doctor isn't in, I mean, I'd rather talk to you anyway. You're prettier.
I should be. I'm a girl. Now, is there something I can help you with?
Yes, as a matter of fact, you can. I have a sort of empty feeling around my heart. What would you prescribe?
Bicarbonate of soda. Is that all?
Touche. Now I have an empty feeling around my head.
Please, will you state your business?
Oh, now, honey, you should know that anybody who walks into a doctor's office wants to live. And after seeing you, I really want to live. What are you doing tonight?
Well, I am not in the habit of making dates with strange men.
Who's strange?
And furthermore, you are perhaps the most insufferable, egotistical
Now, if you just
person
give me a chance, darling, I'm sure I'll be able to prove you're right.
Why, I wouldn't be caught dead, would you? Oh, Johnny, you ain't.
You like that, huh?
This is the first time I've ever tasted champagne.
Good old champagne. The rich people's 7-Up. Well, here's to us.
To us.
Doreen, I feel like talking.
Well, thanks for putting me on guard. Listening to you can do strange things to a girl.
I want you to know more about me. I'm an insurance man. I didn't go up to your office hoping to see the doctor. I wanted to see his nurse. You.
Why, Johnny Dollar, if you try to sell me...
Oh, hey, now, wait a minute. Hear me out. You can probably guess it's getting pretty tough trying to sell insurance these days. More than anything else, a guy needs a new angle, and I've got one. People who go to doctors are worried about their health. Now, people who are worried about their health are worried about the security of their families. So they become good prospects for insurance policies.
No, but at the same time, aren't they also bad risks?
A lot of them are, yeah. But they can't pass the insurance physical. But there are plenty of others. You should know the figures prove that as many healthy people go to doctors as do unhealthy. Perhaps the most popular disease in America is hypochondria, and the national headquarters seems to be located right here in Los Angeles.
I see. And from me, you want a list of Dr. Schmedlich's patients?
Smart girl.
Smart boy.
Expense account, item 5, $1.40. Cab fare to Doreen's apartment, where I told the driver to wait. Expense account, same item, part 2, $28. Waiting time, before I took the cab the rest of the way back to my hotel. Expense account, item 6. Breakfast the next morning, 2 hard-earned dollars for 2 soft-boiled eggs. The hen that laid them must do barnyard bits in the movies. At least at those prices, she could have autographed them. At 9:30, I was right on time for my morning appointment with Doreen to pick up the list of Dr. Schmedlich's patients, a half hour before the doctor was due to arrive.
Well, Johnny, for a man who stayed up so late, you're very punctual.
Oh, that's me. The early worm who so often gets the bird. You got a copy of the list?
Yeah, got here at 8 to type it for
Oh,
you.
fine.
Here it is.
So this is wonderful. You're a doll. Yeah. A. Aarons. You'd make the top of any alphabetical list. Look, this is a selfish way of saying thanks because I'll enjoy it more than you will, but dinner at Romanoff's tonight?
I love it.
Good.
Good morning, Miss Smith.
Oh, good morning, Dr. Schmedlich.
Oh, these patients already?
Oh, yes, Doctor. This is Mr. Dollar. He's from out of town.
Good morning.
Well, all right. What's the matter with you?
Oh, it's really nothing.
Let me be the judge of that. I will make the diagnosis. I will see you in a moment.
Johnny, I don't know what happened. He's never come in this early before.
I don't mind that, but I wish you hadn't made a patient out
Well,
of it.
I just had to say something. He wants to know about everybody who comes in here. Johnny, you'll just have to go through with it. We can't let him know about the list.
Okay. But what's this going to cost me? What does the old squarehead get for a checkup?
$50 a consultation.
Oh. Honey, instead of Romanoff's for dinner tonight, we better make it a drive-in.
Sorry, Johnny, I am.
You can come in now, Mr. Lawler.
Oh, well, with a D, Doctor. The name is Dollar.
Oh, yes, I forget. I have so many cases on my mind. Now, if you will be so good to slip off your jacket and your shirt while I talk.
All right.
Now, what is the nature of your complaint?
Well, my back.
Ah.
See, I was in a small automobile crank-up driving out here.
No, that's a dangerous, complicated area, the back. Now, if you'll be so good to get up on the table and lie down.
Oh, all right.
No, on your stomach. Yeah. The feet down here, please. That's good. Now, I tap your back. When I reach the painful area, please tell me.
Yes, Doctor.
Mm-hmm. Oh, very well muscled, Mr. Dollar. No bruising, strange.
Oh, there it is.
Aha. Well, not dangerously near the spine, but very interesting. Here, I think this will help. Oh!
At first, it felt like a big bee sting about a quarter of the way up my back. Then came the buzzing inside my head. Whatever kind of liquid lullaby the good doctor sunk into my spine had really rocked me to sleep. I had time to move my head and watch Schmedlich put down the hypodermic, walk across the room to my coat, and take from it the list of his patients, plus my wallet containing my identification. But I didn't give it a second thought. I didn't have time to. For me, the lights went out.
In just a moment, we will return to the second act of Johnny Dollar. But first, assets, one block of wood. Liabilities, more trouble than the legendary paper hanger with the hives. It sounds as though Edgar Bergen had a pretty bad bank balance, doesn't it? But luckily for you, he comes back week after week to the CBS studios with his block of wood named Charlie and lets himself in for more trouble. As for you, you're really in the chips when you take in the Edgar Bergen Charlie McCarthy show, heard over most of these stations every Sunday. Don't miss their brightest, gayest show tomorrow night on CBS, where this fall you hear them all.
Tune in this fall for the show that you love best of all. Listen carefully, here's the address. It's CBS.
Now, with our star, Charles Russell, we return to the second act of yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
In my racket, sleeping on the job isn't always fun, and this was one of those times. Waking up from Dr. Schmedlich's slumber treatment for nosy people carried with it a dark brown taste in the mouth, thickness of the tongue, and big bells ringing in your steeple. I was scoring on all those counts when I rolled open my eyelids, which fought me all the way. I sat up and found myself on a hard canvas cot in a bare room with soft walls. They were padded. The window wasn't much, and what there was of it was barred. So was a tiny opening in the upholstered door. At first, I thought I was going crazy. Then I realized I was in the kind of place where they put people they think have already joined the ranks of the enchanted. It took me only 10 years to make it over to the door before I looked out through the small slit. Hey! Hey, come here, someone! Hey, room service!
All right, wait a minute. I'm coming. Hold up your voices. Now listen, mister. The first thing you learn in here is we don't like noise. Makes the other patients nervous.
Okay. Where am I? Who are you?
I'm your nurse.
Oh, sorry I didn't recognize you. I thought nurses were supposed to wear little caps.
I got a little cap, but I don't wear it indoors. Hey, listen, you. Don't go making fun of me. You'll be sorry, see?
I'm sorry now. How'd I get in here anyway?
Well, all I know is this place is for your own good. They say outside you're dangerous.
You can depend on it. If I ever get out, I will be.
What'd you say?
Nothing.
You're one of them, all right, talking to yourself.
What's your name?
Well, it's none of your business, but I'll tell you. I don't like people calling me hey you, so I'll tell you. My name is Foggy.
Okay, Forgy. Listen, all I want is a chance to talk to somebody who's in charge. How about it?
That's easy. When your time comes, the boss will be here without no asking. You get one visit from the boss every day, just like all the others.
When'll that be?
Just before supper. So why don't you go back to sleep? That won't be for 4 more hours.
Oh, dandy. Who is this boss? What's his name?
The boss is not a he. It is a she. And her name is Dr. Doreen Smith.
I had 4 hours to think up different ways of calling myself a sucker. At the end of hour number 1, I ran out of fingernails. At the end of hour number 2, I ran out of patience. And the other 2, I spent devising torturous new ways of getting even with a combination that shanghaied me into that fancy 4-walled straitjacket. They had left me only one move to make. That was out. I figured that if the winsome Dr. Doreen Smith paid me a visit, she'd come with her body well guarded, probably by the charming, bemuscled behemoth, Nurse Forgy, who, from what I saw of him through that slit in the door, was no Florence Nightingale, believe me. For him, I needed a club. I didn't have much to work with. The iron and canvas cot was heavily bolted to the floor. That was the only other piece of furniture in the room, a small but sturdy table. Took off one of my shoes, ripped the heel off in an angle of the cot, and looked lovingly at the shiny little nail points gleaming back at me from the solid piece of leather in the palm of my hand. I put it to work, ripping a 4-foot square of canvas out of the cot. Then I put both of my shoes into the center of the square, picked up the corners, tied them together close to the weight, gave it a heft, feeling that I now had at least the start of a weapon.
Hey, you! Here we are.
Oh, I suppose you think that's good news.
He's safe, Dr. Smith. He's still groggy from that jolt.
Don't trust him. Grab his arms when you go in and hold on. Now go ahead, I'll follow.
Don't try any tricks and we won't hurt you, see?
Thanks, Nursey. I wouldn't think of it. Come here, you. Back in here, sweetheart. Oh, dropped your hypodermic. Planning on rocking me to sleep again, huh?
You let go of me.
Sure, but let me tell you something. This is one squirrel that's going to get out of this cage. Don't rub my fur the wrong way. My head aches. I'm seeing double. My nerve ends are whipping me to death. And for 2 cents, I'd punch you square in the nose. Because one thing for sure, you ain't no lady. Now, sit down. Stay there while I put on what's left of my shoes.
You better go back to Hartford, little boy. This is too big for you.
Being around you will make anybody grow old in a hurry.
What do you think you're gonna do?
Right now, I'm going to take your keys, lock you in here with Sleeping Beauty there, and then I'm going out for a breath of fresh air. Have fun, the two of you. You make a peach of a pair. I stumbled through the rest of the building, which turned out to be nothing more than a country house. There were no other rooms like the one I had just vacated. For that matter, there were no other so-called patients. It could have been a place maintained for the purpose of making people talk, or keeping them from talking. There was no telephone. I couldn't call out, but neither could anybody call in to find out that something was going wrong. This little crime crib was apparently located well out in the country. That meant that Dr. Doreen Smith had arrived in a car, which I commandeered and drove to the nearest filling station. No longer having in my possession that list of Schmedlich's patients, I flipped through my memory and came up with a single name I had noted in his office, A.A. Aaron. Hello, is Mr. A.A. Aaron in, please?
It is Aaron speaking.
Oh, good. Mr. Aaron, I'm representing a group of West Coast druggists. I'm making a survey. Where do you have your prescriptions filled?
It is at the Enjoy Pharmacy on Beverly Boulevard.
Oh, I see. One more question, Mr. Aaron. I know that in many cases people go to the pharmacist recommended by their doctor. Is this the case with you?
Yes, that is right.
Well, thank you, Mr. A.A. Aaron. Pardon me, Mr. Anjoy. The clerk up front told me where I could find you. My name is Dollar. I'd like to have a word with you if you have the time. On the basis of ethics, the state of California should have picked up the gentleman's pharmaceutical license and issued him a barber's permit. Mr. Anjoy loved to talk. From the few thousand words he threw at me during the ensuing half hour, I managed to sift the following information. Dr. Schmedlich's prescriptions were usually refillable, dangerous, and habit-forming. I also managed to memorize the names of a few of his patients from the narcotics book. With these tucked into a lonely corner of my cerebral cortex, I limped out into the newborn night. Expense account, item 7, 50 cents, having the missing heel on my shoe replaced by late-working cobbler. Checking the owners of the first 4 names drew me nothing but blanks. The 5th drew me closer.
Come on in.
Her name was Millicent Royal. She was the kind of girl whose family takes up a full page in the Blue Book, and whose personal habits take up full pages on police blotters.
Well, don't just stand there. Come in.
Thank you.
Sit down.
Miss Royal, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm an insurance investigator.
I don't want any.
You don't understand. I said investigator, not salesman. I want to get a line on a doctor. Otto Schmedlich. You recognize the name?
I might, but I'm not sure it's any of your business.
Look, little lady, let's quit sparring. I've tailed friend Schmedlich this far, and now I want some information. What have you got?
Nothing. He's a fine doctor, a wonderful doctor.
I don't think he's doing you any good at all.
You don't know anything about me.
I'm afraid I do, more than you think. I know enough about Dr. Schmedlich to know that he's doing a lot of people a lot of trouble. I want to put him out of business, and you can help me. Oh, look, honey, Schmedlich isn't the one that needs protection. You do. You and the other people on the same spot you're on. Why don't you do yourself some good?
I think you better leave now.
Okay. Perhaps I'd better drop around to the home of Quincy P. Royal, Bel Air.
But, Father, no, don't do that.
And give me some answers.
You can't make me. Nobody can. Anything that passes between a doctor and his patient is a secret. Nobody can make me say it, not even a judge.
Oh, whoa. Wait a minute. All right. If you change your mind, I'm staying at the Park Beverly Hotel. I'll trip them up sooner or later. If I have to, I'm turning it over to the federal men. Narcotics Department.
Why did I ever let you in here? Get out. Leave me alone. Go away. Please. You can't make me do anything.
Well. Is my estranged wife having a lover's quarrel?
Bill, get this man out of here. Make him leave me alone.
I don't see why I should rescue you from anybody's clutches. But you, I don't like your look, so get out before I bust you in half.
You know, you look like just the guy who might be able to do it. Happy honeymoon. My hangover from Dr. Schmedlich's health cure hit me again as I hit the street. What I needed was a hot shower and a cold drink. After the water hit me in the face, and a trifle of the same hit the scotch in my glass, I sat down in the big easy chair in my room, posing for a picture. Johnny Dollar, lonesomest man in town. I was mixed up in something mighty big and mighty wrong, but something I couldn't as yet put a finger on. Up until then, I had to go on with ability, experience, instinct, all unacceptable to the police as evidence. I asked myself why I hadn't called the law and told them about my party with the lady doctor and the man nurse. Then I answered myself that if I did, I'd probably be the one charged with assault, battery, and whatever else they wanted to trump up. Again, it would only be my word against that of an established medical man and his doctor-type nurse. So I decided to leave Doreen and her monster-type nurse where they were until I could turn them over to the cops. 4 drinks later, I was beginning to realize that those kind of troubles don't drown easily. And then the phone rang. Yeah?
Mr. Dollar?
Yes, this is Dollar.
This is Millicent Royal. I want you to come over right away. Right away.
Wait a minute. What's the matter?
I changed my mind. I'll tell you everything. Anything you want to know.
Oh, listen, Millicent, take the advice of an old hand at this sort of thing. If you want to help, tell me now, over the phone.
No. You can't trust telephones. Somebody's always listening.
Oh, listen to me. It never fails, Miss Royal. You're playing around with the kind of suspense they like to put into movie scripts. The dame calls with some hot information she's afraid to spill over the phone. Then when the investigator gets there, she's dead.
Hurry. Bye.
I went there. I was right. She was dead. That gave me 2 people to go looking for. I didn't know where her estranged husband Bill lived, so I went to work on the doctor. His all-night telephone exchange gave me the information that he had called in just before leaving the hospital on his way to the office and could be reached there in 20 minutes. I was apparently closer than he was, so I walked over to the building and up to the 4th floor. There were lights on in the Schmedlich office, so I walked in.
What do you want?
I came here to see the doctor, Bill, but I was going to get around to you eventually. I just came from your wife's apartment.
So did I.
That's what I mean. You've got some talking to do.
I know who you are, but don't go getting any ideas. I didn't kill her. I loved her.
It didn't sound like love when I met you in the apartment.
We made up right after you left. I went out to get her something from the drugstore. When I came back, she was dead. That's what I'm doing here. I'm waiting here to kill the man who did it.
How do you know it was Schmedlich?
Because after you left her apartment, she called the doctor and told him if he didn't stop shaking her down, she was going to tell you the whole story.
And he threatened her, and she called me. What was the grounds for blackmail? Narcotics?
That's right. He got her started on it during a long illness she had. After she was well but still needed the drug, he told her he'd see that her family heard about it. She didn't pay him off.
Nice guy.
He wrecked us, wrecked our marriage, made a victim of her. And she wasn't the only one. There were others. He made drug addicts out of them and then threatened to blackmail them if they didn't pay off.
Can you prove all this?
I can't prove it. Nobody can. The cops, the medical association, they've tried, but Schmedlich is clever. Too clever. When I blast that monster out of the world, I'll be curing it of a big sickness.
Now, hey, take it easy. Look, I know how you feel, but you haven't got the right answer. Why don't you let me take over?
Stay out of it, Dollar. I never belonged to any Boy Scout troops. I'm not joining now. You know what they say, an apple a day? Well, I've got one here for the doctor. You see this? It's left over from Guadalcanal.
I sure do see it. A pineapple. Army type. Hand grenade.
Well, I'm gonna feed it to him.
Oh, Bill, now look, I know you're upset, but don't forget, those things were designed to take care of more than one man. Have you thought of that?
I've thought about it a lot, and it still all adds up. I haven't got a thing left to live for. Hey. That's him.
Bill, you're off your rocker. Don't do it. Give me that thing.
Shut up. Stand away.
What is this? What are you two doing here?
Come and get it, Schmedlich! A bomb!
Before the grenade could explode, I did. With one foot, I kicked Bill mightily in the shin bone. With a pin pulled, I only had about 5 seconds. I took 2 steps, and with the other foot, I kicked the grenade out to the corridor, then I hit the floor.
All right. I'll still take you to pieces, Schmedlich.
I let Bill go to work on the doctor until he had socked him into a state of unconsciousness. And to save Bill from a murder rap, I did the same for him with a loose portable typewriter. Sorry, but it's time to typewrite the tagline, William. P.S. Then I called the police. Expense account, item 8. $50, airplane rental, Burns-Lee charter service for a flight to Palm Springs. Item 9, $62. Dinner at the Dunes, party of 3. Included in said party, me and Haig and Haig. Expense account, item 9, airfare Palm Springs to Los Angeles to Hartford, $244.04. Expense account total, $1,211.69. All that for getting rid of a doctor. And if you react the same way you reacted to my last expense account, it'll probably mean that you will be needing a doctor. Signed, yours, truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, is produced and directed by Gordon T. Hughes and stars Charles Russell. Script by Paul Dudley and Gil Dowd. Featured in the cast were Willard Waterman, Betty Lou Gerson, Larry Dobkin, Paul Dubov, Georgia Ellis, and Edmund McDonald. The special music is written and conducted by Wilbur Hatch. Be sure to be with us next week when another unusual expense account is handed in by
yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Stay tuned for Vaughn Monroe and his Caravan, which follows immediately over most of these same stations. Paul Masterson speaking. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
this case, most of the principals were out on bail. It put me out on a limb.
This is another in the adventures of America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator, Johnny Dollar, starring Charles Russell. At Insurance Investigation, Johnny Dollar is just an expert. At making out his expense account, he's an absolute genius.
Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to Max Krause, Krause Bail Bond and Insurance Agency, New York City, New York. The following is an accounting of my expenditures during my investigation of two of your clients, or witness, who's got the witness? Or, he said, give me liberty or give me death, and got both. Expense account, item one. $1, one cigar, to replace the asphyxiating stogie you were smoking when you arrived, unannounced, at my Hartford apartment door.
Name's Max Krause. Here's my card. Krause Bail Bond Insurance Agency, State, Federal, and Immigration. All forms of surety bonds and insurance. Got it?
Yeah, I got it.
Well, I got a job for you to the tune of saving me $50,000.
Okay, you can come in. But you'll have to tie up that cigar outside.
Okay?
Here, better yet, give it to me.
Hey.
Thanks. Come on in.
Hey, what's the idea of throwing it out the window? That was an expensive cigar.
Oh, can you think of a better way to get rid of it? It was killing me. Here, have one of these.
Oh. Well, not the quality I'm used to, you understand, but much obliged.
Forget it. They were a gift. Maybe I won't even charge you for it, if I go to work for you. Well, shall we find out if I will or not? Sit down.
What do you know about Leo Persino?
Just what I read in the paper. Did you put up his bail?
I wish I had. Well, the bonds I put up were for two prosecution witnesses, know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they either took a run out, jumped from one of the bridges, or some of Leo's men put them out of the way, get me?
Vaguely. They're gone.
Yeah, that's right. And unless I can prove they're dead or find them, you understand, before the trial, which is a week from today, I forfeit the $50,000. 25 apiece. Seem a problem?
Yeah. Tell me something, Mr. Krause. Why'd you come to me?
I'll tell you why. To the police, these witnesses are only two names on a long list of missing persons. You up with me?
Yeah.
Now, and as for private detectives, I could never be sure that one wouldn't make a deal with Persino and make more money not finding them than I'd be paying to find them. Get the point?
Yeah. Well, what makes you think you can trust me?
Oh, well, you were mentioned by one of the insurance companies I sell for. They tell me that you're straight, except for padding your expenses here and there.
Hey, now, that's an insult.
What's a little padding? I used to do the same with my old man when I was in grade school. That's kid stuff.
You'll find out.
What's that?
I said I'll find out what I can. Who are these lost, strayed, or stolen witnesses?
Nippy Cochran is one. Real name is Glenn. You hear? Glenn.
Yeah.
The other is Dan Patterson. I got their addresses, next to kin, you know what I mean? What else do you need?
A big fat retainer, about $2,500.
That's pretty steep. I've only got $1,000 with me.
It just so happens that I'm a grand person to do business with, Mr. Krause. I'll take the $1,000. Expense account, item 2, $3.45, train fare, Hartford to New York. A high wind and I hit the big city at the same time, 4 p.m. to be exact. So I set storm canvas and tacked crosstown toward 81st, between Madison and 5th. One of the bits of information that had come with that $1,000 bit of paper was the fact that one of the missing witnesses, Nippy Cochran, had a sister, stage name Mona Doyle. She'd been born in Hell's Kitchen, and she'd worked out her own little recipe consisting of brains, beauty, and cheesecake to cook up her own version of heaven on earth, including angels, Broadway type. When I hove to in front of her 81st Street brownstone, a delivery boy was buzzing his way into the building. Not wishing to argue with Mona over the intercom system on the buzzer panel, I waited for the boy to come out. Caught the door before it closed. Thanks, Bub. Went in and up to her second-floor apartment.
Yes? Who is it?
My name is Dollar. You don't know me, but I have some news about your brother.
Oh? Just a second, I'll let you in. Come in.
Thanks.
What's this news you have about Nippy?
Oh, well, the guy who put up bail for him, Max Krause, has hired an insurance investigator to look for him.
Oh? Well, what am I supposed to do about that?
Asked me to sit down. I'm the investigator.
Well, you're awfully clever, aren't you?
No, I hire a couple of radio writers to work these things out for me.
Well, please do sit down.
Thank you.
Why did you do it this way? Didn't you think I'd let you in if I knew what you were?
Well, lots of people are allergic to what I am.
Well, I'm not.
That helps. Do you know where your brother is, Miss Doyle?
No. Now, could I fix you a drink?
Does that mean that this is the end of our little discussion?
Mr. Dollar, I don't know where Nippy is, believe that or not. I haven't seen much of him the last few years. He doesn't approve of me, and I don't approve of him. But that doesn't make any difference. What does is that if I did know where you could find him, I wouldn't tell you. I don't hate him enough to kill him that way.
That way? Are you holding out for a choice? Hey.
That was a nasty thing to say.
Oh, that slap you handed me ought to make us even.
Sorry. Don't you know what would happen if you found Nippy and brought him back?
Well, I've heard that Leo Porcina has some quaint habits with people he doesn't want around. Something about wrapping their feet in a concrete block and lowering them into any handy river. But the law will give him protection until after the trial.
What difference would that make? Even if Leo were convicted, don't you think he'd leave orders behind to take care of Nippy?
Well, that could probably be worked out, too. Well, look, I wasn't hired to worry about that. I was hired to find your brother so my client won't lose his money. Well...
Oh, this is a lousy way for two people to meet, isn't it? I wish it were different.
What's that supposed to mean?
Well, I'd like to ask you again to have a drink with me. That wind has my nerves jumping. And you haven't helped. Be a good guy, won't you?
With what she had to back up that invitation, I defy any guy, good or bad, to come up with anything but an acceptance. Unless he was crowded at 70, and had a car double parked outside, and was married to a suspicious wife, who was waiting in the car. So, I stayed, and we learned to know one another. 20 minutes later, we were close friends. I knew it had to end, and it did. The door buzzer sounded, and Mona bounded over to the little button that controlled the lock on the downstairs entrance.
Don't be shocked, Johnny. I brush off a lot of my admirers this way.
The only thing I admire about you is the act you put on. It's a good one.
I'm glad you enjoyed yourself. There was one thing I forgot to tell you about my brother.
I can hardly wait. I'm all ears.
He gave me everything I have. Without him, I'd have none of all this.
What is it, Nippy, who's on his way up here?
That isn't what I mean. All Nippy did was introduce me to Leo Porcina. That's who's on his way up.
Oh, yeah. Well, blood may be thicker than water, but where you're concerned, it isn't thicker than champagne with ermine on the side.
Hi, Leo. Come on in and see what found me.
Well, what do you know about this? Who's he?
Johnny Dollar, an insurance investigator, hired by Krause to find Nippy.
Well, it's interesting. Yes, it is. Oh, boy, what are you going to say for yourself?
Matter Harry there said everything there is to say, except that I'm also looking for the other missing witness, Dan Patterson.
Yeah, I assume that. It's very apt, Mr. Dollar, that we should meet this way. Two men interested in the same subject.
The subject was more interesting before you came in.
I'll ignore that. Natural, what I meant was that I, too, am quite anxious to find Nippy and Patterson.
Can I mix you a drink, Leo?
No, leave us alone, Mona. Go in the bedroom.
All right, Leo.
And close the door, please. Now, man to man, Dollar, how do you propose to go about finding Nippy and Patterson?
What would you suggest, Porcina? Dragging the rivers?
Now, see here, Dollar, there's no need to take such a pessimistic view. I realize that an unfriendly press has endowed me with a reputation for violence, but I don't deserve it.
I hope you aren't bucking to be canonized.
That's a picture, isn't it? Saint Leo Porcina. Saint. Quite a sense of humor, Dollar. But my motives are honorable. I'm not afraid of the testimony of those two men. I want them back because their disappearance makes it look bad for me. It's the kind of thing that sways public opinion. I got nothing against them.
I'll believe that when I see the three of you enjoying a nice, friendly game of billiards.
Well, have it your own way. I thought we could form a combination, you and me, to find the boys, but a combination's no good if I trust you and you don't trust me. Go ahead, Dollar. Bullet through alone. And good luck to you.
Thanks, Leo. I've enjoyed your pack of lies no end. So I put on my top coat, picked up my hat, and left. He didn't shoot me while I was on the stairs, so by the time I felt the sidewalk underfoot, I also felt fairly safe. But not for long. The chauffeur in a limousine parked at the curb took off his uniform cap and put on a hat with an eye-hiding brim. I looked up at the lighted window of Mona Doyle's apartment and saw Leo's figure just slipping out of sight. As I started down the street, the chauffeur was no longer a chauffeur. At a signal from Leo, he had turned into a man who was following me. I grabbed a cab on Madison, and by the time our zigzag trip to Patterson's address was over, I felt reasonably sure that I was no longer being followed. The hall was like a mine shaft and smelled worse. 4 doors down on the right, I found the number of Patterson's apartment.
Come on in.
The man who bid me enter was still wearing the hat with the eye-hiding brim. But something new had been added to his right hand, .45 caliber. Leo Porcina's chauffeur hadn't followed me to Patterson's address. He beat me there.
Close the door.
I don't like to ask foolish questions, but what are you doing here?
I live here. Or I did.
Patterson. Oh, great. I'm looking for you, and the way I do it is to try and get away from you. Look, take the load off your right hand, will you? I want to talk to you.
Sure, but not here. Let's go someplace.
For me, that someplace was out. But before I got there, I had time to pass myself a question. What better place for a missing witness to hide than the employ of the guy he was supposed to testify against? Then I found a hiding place of my own. It was nice and dark, but the only person I was hiding from was me, Johnny Dollar, America's fabulous insurance investigator. Fabulous indeed.
In just a moment, we will return to the second act of Johnny Dollar. But first, a battle to the finish, and no holds barred as far as words and opinions are concerned. That's only one of the entertaining elements of People's Platform, a Sunday daytime feature on most of these same CBS stations. Attack and defense and attack again. Politicians, labor leaders, statesmen, farm leaders, men and women from all walks of life find themselves going from the frying pan into the fire many times in each Sunday half-hour session. You'll enjoy People's Platform every Sunday on CBS. Now, with our star, Charles Russell, we return to the second act of yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
When my brain started the trip back from unconsciousness, I thought at first I had passed out in one of the tunnels. The air, what there was of it, was thick with the smell of burned gasoline. It was still dark, and it seemed like cars were going past me without headlights. Then I noticed that the tunnel was moving. It took me a long time to figure out that meant it wasn't a tunnel. It was a car, and I was on the floor in the back seat with a blanket covering me. It took 2 hands and all my strength, but I managed to lift the blanket away from my face. The first thing I saw was one of those old-fashioned speaking tubes that sometimes are used between a limousine's rear and driver's seat. It was hanging down, the mouthpiece a few inches from my head. But what was coming out of it was not noise, but that smell of burned gasoline, carbon monoxide. I didn't have to try them to know that all the doors were locked from the outside and that all the glass was unbreakable. From there, it took me only one short mental step to realize that speaking tube was connected to the exhaust pipe, and I was in the process of being executed in laughing Leo Porcina's private gas chamber. There's nothing so exhilarating as being slapped in the face with death. I wrestled a handkerchief out of my breast pocket, twisted it up into a stopper, jammed it into the tube, and clamped my hand over the mouthpiece. It didn't help the air any, but at least it wasn't getting any worse. Then I settled back to wait, trying not to breathe. Chauffeur, leg man, executioner, Dan Patterson. Opened the rear door. When we came to a stop, waited a few seconds for the wind to clear out the fumes, then reached in, grabbed me under the shoulders, and dragged me out. I managed to stay limp until we got a few yards off the road and into the brush. Then I dug my heels in and heaved. It was surprise more than strength that toppled him, but it was no time for niceties. I picked up a handy rock and bashed him one on the head. Come on, Danny boy, get with it. You'll catch your death of cold lying on this damp ground.
Oh, dollar.
Yeah, $1, which probably makes you feel like 2 cents.
Listen, I couldn't help what I did. But Leo, it's either do what he tells you to or get it done to you.
Oh, save that pitch for the jury, will you? I want some answers. First, where are we?
In New Jersey, about 40 minutes south from the city. Listen, give me a break. I'll help you all I can.
I ought to break your head. And save your time and effort. There's nothing in that shoulder holster your hand is moving for. I've got it. Now, do I use it or do you tell me where Nippy Cochran is?
I don't know. I swear I don't. You gotta believe that. If I knew, I'd sell the information to Leo for plenty. He wants him bad.
Yeah, dream boy. I'll just bet you would. Okay, get up.
Wait a minute. What are you gonna do?
I was hired to find you and I found you, and now I'm gonna put you away where you'll keep. Come on, get up.
Listen, maybe I do know where Nippy is. Why don't you and me?
Patterson, I'll have to stop you. I didn't want to fire, but I had to, and fast, in the darkness. Aim was next to impossible, but I shot low. I guess it takes more lead than I threw into him to kill a guy who's so full of mental poison. Patterson was alive when I got to him, and alive and conscious when I left him in the hands of the nearest police doctor. Score, 1 up. 1 witness found and 1 still missing. Expense account, item 4, 50 cents. Toll paid to get Leo Porcina's lethal limousine across the George Washington Bridge and back into New York City. Expense account, item 5, 5 cents. Phone call soon after I got there.
Yes?
This is Dollar. Let me speak to Leo.
Oh, Johnny.
Yeah, sorry to disappoint you, but I'm alive and almost well.
Johnny, I don't know what you mean, and I don't care what you think of me. You gotta help me.
With what? Nailing my casket together?
Nippy's in town. He killed Leo.
Oh? Well, if it's true, that's a switch. All over the country, defendants are knocking off witnesses, but when I show up, the witness knocks off the defendant. I repeat, if true.
It is true. I was with Leo. We went from here to his apartment. Nippy came in with a knife, and you gotta help me. I don't know what to do.
Well, it's generally a good idea to call the police. Did you?
Are you crazy?
Probably. Where is Leo's apartment?
Do you have to go over there?
Well, why not?
All right. Pick me up here. I'll take you over. Goodbye.
Whether she was asking me or telling me, she was right. I must be crazy. I gave myself 10 to 1 odds that my journey would end in a trap. But I've been wrong before. Leo Porcina was in his apartment, all right, ungracefully spread out on the floor in front of a not quite clean white leather chair.
There he is. What are you going to do?
Knife wound, left side of chest. No signs of struggle. Where were you?
I was in the other room.
You didn't see it happen?
No, I hardly heard anything. I didn't even hear Nippy come in. The radio was on. I heard a mumble of voices that didn't mean anything. Then Leo screamed, Nippy. I ran in then, and Leo was just falling, and Nippy was watching him go down.
I wish I knew whether you were bawling because you're grief-stricken or because you're scared. I wish I knew a lot of things about you. Now, come on. Let's go back to your place, and maybe I can find out.
Here you are. Johnny Walker for Johnny Dollar.
Oh, thanks. Would you also say it's Johnny on the spot?
I don't know why I thought I had the right to ask you to help me. Well, I didn't have anyone else to turn to.
Oh, you ought to improve your dialogue.
I'm not trying to be clever, Johnny. I'm petrified. Nippy knows I saw him. I'm the only one that saw him. If you could just stay with me until I could get out of town or until this is cleared out.
If I could keep my eyes closed, I'd say you weren't worth it. What you're trying to tell me is that you're afraid Nippy will show up with his dandy little carving set and go to work on you. Is that it?
It's an awful thing to say about my own brother, but that's right. I'm afraid he'll kill me. He hates me. He blamed me when Leo kicked him out of the combination.
Was he right?
Of course not. But I couldn't make him believe me. He swore he'd pay us off, and he did. He sold the information that got Leo indicted, and now he's killed him.
You know, that's an interesting point. That he'd go to all the trouble to turn state's witness against Leo and then kill him. Why would he do that?
I don't know.
What you started to say was to make it look as though you killed him, wasn't it?
Yes. He'd do anything to hurt me. Johnny, if you only knew.
Hold it. Never mind the dust in my eyes, gorgeous. To frame you, Nippy would have to supply you with a motive. Unless you already had one kicking around someplace. And your silence says you probably have.
Johnny.
Leo was nailed on tax evasion because it turned out that he had undeclared income deposited in various banks under various people's names. How much is in your account?
You're smart.
Not very. Doesn't take a wizard to add 2 and 2 and come up with a motive. With Leo out of the way, there's very little chance that you will be dragged into court as an accomplice. And I'll mention in passing the bank balance you didn't deny having.
I know it looks bad, Johnny. Please put your drink down.
Well, why not? It's empty.
I know it looks bad. I'd be in big trouble if the police found out about the account. But do they have to, Johnny?
According to all the rules, yeah.
I didn't kill him, Johnny. You've got to believe that.
I'd like to.
You've got to, darling. Don't you think it'd be worth it? There's the money. And there's me. Darling. Oh, Johnny.
Get away from me!
Johnny, what's wrong?
In this case, everything. I've been slugged and gassed. I had to shoot a man. I missed my dinner. But the worst of all is you. You think because you've got your kind of hair and your kind of eyes and mouth and the rest of it, you're going to hide all your lies and greedy ideas behind them and put a leash on any man you see. Well, it might work with a human being, but I'm not human. I'm an insurance investigator.
What are you going to do?
I'm going to turn you in for murder. That's what I'm going to do. Operator, get on this thing before I change my mind. Mona didn't really turn on the tears until 2 men from homicide took her and tucked her into a squad car. And I didn't warm up to my story until the press arrived. In print, in a very early morning edition that hit the stands at 12:01 a.m., it looked even better than it had sounded. Headline: Insurance investigator records confession of murderess. Lead: police, late last night, booked Mona Doyle for the murder of Leo Porcina, racket boss. In an exclusive statement, Johnny Dollar, Hartford, said he was able to record the voluntary confession of the shapely knife killer by means of a tape recorder and a microphone concealed beneath a sofa, thus lifting the suspicion from her brother, Glenn Nippy Cochran, who has been sought for the slaying. The wind was dying, and so was I by the time I got back to my hotel, after making one stop at an all-night drugstore for expense account item 7, $1.79 adhesive tape, which might be classified as an odd item, since I didn't, as yet, have any broken bones. my hotel room, I put the tape and the 2 telephone books, one classified, one general, to what I hoped would be good use. Slipped on a dressing gown and sat down to wait. An hour and 10 minutes later, it turned out that I'd waited long enough. Yeah? Who is it?
A telegram.
Well, you can't say much for his originality. Wait a second. I'll slip on a robe.
Okay, Dollar, get back in the room.
This is hardly the way to deliver a telegram, is it?
I've got a message for you, all right, but it's not in an envelope. I'm Nippy Cochran.
Well, hello, Nippy Cochran.
That confession you coaxed out of my sister isn't what the tape is recorded on. It's phony.
The police seem to like it.
And nuts. I killed Leo Porcino.
Oh, that's your story, and it could be phony. Look, I'll tell you why the police like Mona's better.
Huh?
Leo died from a knife wound in the left part of his chest. There were no signs of a struggle. That means he was probably killed by somebody who just walked up to him and pushed. Someone he trusted, a friend. That doesn't fit you, but it fits your sister.
I've got the answer to that. It says in the paper that confession of hers lifted the finger off me. The least I can do is take it off her. And you know how that's done.
It's a little late for guesswork,
Well,
Nippy.
like killing the same way with the same knife while she's alibied by the police, that'll clear.
What's it going to do to you? And if you get close to me, you can believe me, there's going to be signs of struggle this time.
I don't have to get close. See?
The knife came from the usual place in his collar behind his head. His aim was perfect. I felt the shock just over my heart. But the telephone books I'd taped to my chest called his number. The knife bounced off, and Nippy stood there with his mouth hanging open. Then I found something to throw. Something I could aim just generally. A chair. He stumbled back from the impact, and before he could collect his wits or his balance, I let him have a barrage. I should have known. A bail bondsman doesn't know the right people. Expense account item 8. $15, doctor fee. If it wasn't worth it to you, it was worth it to me to get that adhesive tape off by using alcohol instead of violence. Expense account item 9, $28.50. Replacement of hotel room furniture broken in final brawl. And expense account item 10, if you don't mind, $367.25. See enclosed bar, cafe, and theater receipts. Buying my way back into the favor of the magnificent Mona. Oh, and you may ask me how I was clever enough to know that she was innocent all that time. I didn't. But I could hope, couldn't I? Expense account total, original retainer not returnable, $500.71. Signed, yours, truly, Johnny Walker. I mean, Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, is produced and directed by Gordon T. Hughes and stars Charles Russell. Script by Paul Dudley and Gil Dowd. Featured in the cast were Ed Mack, Paul Dubov, Sidney Miller, Jim Nusser, and Georgia Ellis. The special music is written and conducted by Wilbur Hatch. Be sure to be with us at this same time next week when another unusual expense account is handed in by
yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
It's fascinating, it's challenging, it's something unusual in radio fare. Yes, that's what folks are saying about CBS's popular Sunday program, Invitation to Learning. You'll renew old acquaintances in literature. You'll make some exciting new ones when you make a Sunday afternoon listening habit of CBS's Invitation to Learning. Remember the time every Sunday afternoon over most of these CBS stations. Stay tuned now for Vaughn Monroe and his Caravan. They follow immediately over most of these CBS stations. Paul Masterson speaking. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
If you're looking for murder, I know a guy who can get it for you wholesale.
This is another in the adventures of America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator, Johnny Dollar, starring Charles Russell. At Insurance Investigation, Johnny Dollar is only an expert. At making out his expense account, he's an absolute genius.
Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar. To West Coast Underwriters, San Francisco Branch. Attention, Bradford L. Coates, General Manager. The following is an accounting of my expenditures during my investigation of the little man who wasn't all there, or in most cases, there at all, or the unpaid premium payoff. Expense account, item 1. 3 cents postage due on your airmail special delivery letter containing said assignment. I can just hear you dictating it.
Take a letter. To Johnny Dollar. You'll find his address in the files. Dear Sir, better make that Dear Dollar. Enclosed find copies of letters received by us from one Mr. James Yarbo, period. This man's wife was insured with our company until recently. One day before her death, her period of grace on an unpaid premium ran out. We canceled her policy in the amount of $20,000. Her husband, Yarbo, first made every effort to collect, then threatened us. Since then, we've received the enclosed series of letters intimating, without confessing, that he's had a hand in the accidental death of at least 12 of our policyholders to date. The police have been working on it, but are getting nowhere. If you are available, please come immediately. Yours very truly,
Expense account, item 2, $176.87. Airfare, Hartford to San Francisco. Item 3, $5.40. Cab fare, airport to your office.
Dollar, glad you got here. You've no idea what a mess this whole thing is.
Okay, Mr. Coates, okay, don't get excited. We'll nail this guy before you run out of policyholders.
Well, the dozen he's apparently done away with already have cost us darn near $250,000. You've got to move fast, Dollar. The man is a homicidal maniac.
Yeah, but a smart one, though. He's put just enough in those letters he sent you to let you know that he's working out a grand-scale revenge against your company. But he leaves out just enough so the law can't lock him up.
He's had perfect alibis in every case.
Look, Mr. Coates, tell me, have all these deaths been local, right around here?
No, they've been all over California.
Mm-hmm. Well, one other thing, the method. From this list you gave me, Mr. Yarbo seems to have a preference for killing people through the noisy and gory method of fake automobile accidents.
Yes, very true. But what about this last one? Airplane crash. That was a $30,000 loss to us. Just think. Our poor innocent policyholder flying around and then his engine quit. Thanks to a man he's never even seen.
Tell me, Mr. Coates, just how difficult would it be to get a list of your California policyholders? Names and addresses, you know.
Why, that would take days, but goodness gracious, man, you can't hope to keep an eye on them all. Besides, the minute you went off the job, he'd strike again. That's a preposterous idea.
Cut time. Look, I don't want the list. I was just wondering how Yarbo got it.
Oh.
Now, so far you've given me nothing to go on. I'd like you to add 2 things to that. Yarbo's home address and a $50,000 life insurance policy made out to me.
What on earth's that for?
Well, look, in the first place, if we're going fishing for Mr. Yarbo, I might as well be the worm. In the second place, if I should get gobbled up in the line of duty, that $50,000 life insurance would make several attractive young ladies of my acquaintance very happy. Not, mind you, as happy as I can make them by remaining alive. Expense account, item 4, $30. Rental of limousine, complete with chauffeur. I figured if I was riding the trouble, I was riding in style. So I started on a house-to-house survey. You might say, knocking at death's door.
Yes. What is it, the police?
I'm sorry to bother you, Mrs. Gianelli, but I'm from the insurance company.
Oh, yes.
It'll only take a moment. One question about your son.
Oh, poor Angelo. What do you want to know about my poor son? He drive away in his automobile, that's all. I'll never see him alive again.
Yes, I know. Tell me, Mrs. Gianelli, did you ever hear your son mention a man named Yarbo?
Yarbo?
Yeah.
Yarbo. I don't know about no such Yarbo. Now, please. Please leave me. There was so much sadness in my house.
Yes?
Mr. Dykes?
Yes.
I'm sorry to bother you, but I'm from the insurance company. About your son's plane crash.
Oh. I thought all those details had been taken care of.
Well, just one thing, Mr. Dykes. Did your son ever mention a man named Yarbo?
Yarbo?
Yeah.
That's an unusual name. I'm sure if he had, I would have remembered.
Okay, sir. I'm sorry to have bothered you. And thanks.
Yes, sir. May I help you?
Yes, I'd like to have a word with Mrs. Weatherly. I'm from the insurance company.
Well, sir, Mrs. Weatherly has been indisposed, not receiving visitors.
What is it, Brian?
How do you do, Mrs. Weatherly? My name is Johnny Dollar.
Oh, dear. You may go, Brian. Oh, I'm ashamed to let you see me in this condition, Mr. Dollar. I'm just ashamed. But you understand.
I do indeed.
Oh, it was bad enough. The accident, I mean. But the scandal! Oh, I'll never be able to hold my head up again.
Yes. No.
If Harvey had to get himself in an automobile accident, why, oh, why, I ask you, did he have to have that awful Mrs. Barclay in the car?
Oh, yes. Yes, it was very unthoughtful of him, Mrs. Weatherly. Would you mind answering one question?
Well, if I can.
Did your husband ever mention a man named Yarbo?
Well, no. No, he never mentioned a man named Yarbo. But neither did he ever mention Mrs. Barclay.
I tried a half a dozen of the other beneficiaries left behind by Mr. Yarbo's list of victims. All I got out of it was a very watery afternoon. The tears were falling like monsoon time in Burma. But of information, I got none. This brought me right smack up to a point I didn't want to have to reach. The point of contacting Mr. Yarbo in person. At 8:30 that night, I took a plant on Yarbo's house on Lombard Street. At 11:30, I saw the lights go out, as did Yarbo. He was a little guy, stooped over like he was looking for cigarette butts on the sidewalk, needing a haircut, and, true to type, wearing a long black overcoat. But worst of all was the little satchel he was carrying. Items like this always set off a chain reaction in my imagination, and I could just see him on his way to atomizing the Oakland Bay Bridge, thus causing the biggest automobile accident in history. I very cleverly forced my way into the house by breaking a first-floor window, reaching in and opening same. The cyclops eye of my flashlight started picking up information on the subject of Mr. Yarbo immediately. The room I had entered looked like the Hobby Lobby of an English bobby, a crime museum if I ever saw one. On one wall, a gun case. On another, a crime library. And scattered around the room, a grisly collection, ranging from blood-stained hatchets to shrunken heads. But the most surprising criminal curio of all stood right behind me. Mr. Yarbo, complete with little black bag.
Well, I must say the current second-story man dresses well, but I must also say you, my man, must have the old masters of the art turning in their graves. For you, young man, are a heavy-fingered bungler. There, let's have a better look at you. Now, that flashlight, I'll feel better after you've dropped it.
Hey, what am I doing? You're not even pointing a gun at me.
Don't feel too comfortable. You are well covered from many points. A step from you in any direction may detonate any number of explosive devices.
Why'd I have to pick this joint to burgle? I feel like a city councilman playing a call in the White House. You seem more the kind of a guy I should be working for instead of on. What's your racket?
Racket?
Yeah.
You were in a racket, my little friend. My pastime is a science. Yes, I take it you are impressed with my collection.
Who wouldn't be?
Well, if you're interested, come here.
About those booby traps.
Oh, yes. Note well the design in the rug. The large roses. Avoid stepping on them for the time being.
Oh, great. And I was in here stumbling around in the dark.
May your good luck continue. But look here in this case, the small vial on the right. That was purloined for me to order from the famous Black Museum in Scotland Yard. That little vial once rested in the case of the fabulous murderer, Dr. Crippen. On there, beside it, that lock of hair. That is from the head of the second victim of the noted mass murderer, Neil Cream. And up there, look up there, the hangman's noose over the mantel. From that one swung the body of the notorious Western bagwoman, Fanny Turner.
Oh, how's chances for running this place for Halloween?
Well, all right then, since you no longer seem interested in playing the part of a bungling burglar, then I assume that I am also free to discontinue my pose as a victim of your disguise, Mr. Johnny Dollar.
Oh? Looks like the chips are down and I'm the fish.
Yes, and there are a lot of other fish in your sea, Mr. Dollar. Poison eels, that's what you are, the lot of you. Parasites, gambling on death, and then not paying when you lose.
Listen, Mr. Yarbo, you're placing a big hunk of blame where it doesn't belong. You're confused about things.
Confused?
Yes. When your wife's insurance premium was overdue, you were allowed a 30-day period of grace. And when that went by, the policy was canceled. Now, that's not the insurance company's fault. It was your fault.
But it wasn't. I gave her the money. She spent it on herself. I didn't make it up. I told them so after she died. I told them, but they wouldn't listen. I'll show you. I'll show you.
Yarbo looked like he was headed to show me the chopping end of an axe laying on top of a small table. I hit him just as he hit the table. As he hit the floor, I noticed what I was standing on. One of those big red roses in the carpet. It hadn't exploded yet, but that was one flower I wasn't standing around waiting to see bloom. It took a lot of nerve picking up a telephone in that room. But I finally got a good hold on my nerves and a fair hold on an imitation of Yarbo's voice. Took one deep breath and picked up the phone. Yes?
Hello, James. This is Martha. I'm at the office. I have good news. 2 more. Mr. and Mrs. Granville Morse, killed tonight on the Great Highway, 2 miles south of Seal Rock. 8:45 tonight. Ran into a post, both killed. Insured for a total of $80,000. I gotta go now. Goodbye, James.
Well, congratulations, Brother Yarbo. 2 more at 8:45 tonight. And who's your new alibi? Me.
In just a moment, we'll return to the second act of Johnny Dollar. But first, did you ever think of "and" as a comedy word? Maybe not, but you'll get a full demonstration on CBS this Wednesday night. There'll be Groucho Marx and his guest on that hilarious quiz, You Bet Your Life. For it's the guests who sometimes floor Groucho with their wisecracks. There'll be Bing Crosby in his regular Wednesday night CBS show and his special guest, Bob Hope. There'll be George Burns and Gracie Allen and Bill Goodwin. And becomes more filled with comedy when you learn that Lum and Abner will have their premiere as Wednesday night regulars on most of these same CBS stations. Yes, this fall, you hear them all on C and B and S. Now, with our star, Charles Russell, we return to the second act of Yours Truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yarbo might have been lying unconscious on the floor, but in that setting, I was still afraid of him. I'd have looked the place over with a fine tooth comb. Only having none, I used my hands. I put the pat test to Yarbo's pockets for a gun. He was unloaded. Then turned my attention to the little black bag he'd been carrying when I saw him leave the house, and which he still had with him when he returned. I hoped it wasn't booby-trapped. Opened it and discovered that it was a trap, the type my kind of booby stepped into. Inside the bag was a small radio receiver tuned to something I looked for and found in the room. A small radio transmitter of the type formerly used in army tanks. Through this, Yarbo had heard me enter his little museum of murder and had returned to catch me in the act of prowling the premises. About then, I caught him in the act of coming to. Well, welcome home, Yarbo. Time to get up. I just had a long chat on the phone with Martha. She thought I was you.
You think you're very clever, don't you? Martha knows my voice. If she talked to you at all, she didn't tell you anything. Of that I am sure, so save your breath. There is no use your telling me she gave you any information.
Oh, no, you got me wrong, pal. I only told you Martha called to let you know I know there is a Martha. I figured it might make you nervous, and nervous men are easy to beat.
Other nervous men may be easy to beat, Dollar, but not James Yarbo. The police have tried, and they couldn't prove a thing against me. Now, may I have your permission to get up?
Yeah. Maybe the police haven't been able to get anything on you, but I have something. Attempted murder. The hatchet you went for.
The pitiful mistake of a pitifully suspicious mind, Dollar. I wasn't reaching for that hatchet on the table. I was trying to show you something in the table drawer. There it is, spilled out on the floor. My wife's insurance policy. The one your unscrupulous thieving superiors refused to pay. The vampires? Here, look at it. All in order. Much of it in fine print. Fine, just fine.
Okay, Yarbo, that did it. Come on, ahead of me.
Where are we going?
Find some place to lock you up. I was hired to stop you, and until I do, I'm at least going to try and slow you down. Now move. Linen closet. No room here. Come on. Bathroom. No window. Yeah, this'll do. Go on, get in there.
No, not in here. Anywhere but in here.
It's a good place. You may get thirsty.
No. This is where my wife died. Not in here. No.
Which, on the surface, may seem to have been a move on the cruel side. But Yarbo was a man obviously off his rocker, and I needed him more nervous than I already had him. Too nervous to attempt killing any more people. Expense account item 5, a nickel. Phone call, downtown office, state police. Mr. and Mrs. Granville Morse had indeed crashed to their death on the great highway south of Seal Rock at 8:45, which made the lady with the early telephone news flash Martha, a gal with whom I wanted an early date. Come on, answer the phone.
Hello?
Hello?
What is it?
Hello, Mr. Coates. This is Dollar.
Huh? Oh, yes, Dollar. What do you want?
Well, first I want to tell you that you just lost 2 more policyholders. List price, $80,000.
Oh, good Lord. This is terrible. Who? How? What?
Never mind that. I've also got something else. On the good side. I need your help tonight.
Of course. Anything. What can I do?
Meet me at your office. You and I are going to go looking for a dame named Martha.
Martha? Martha who?
I don't know, but I hope she works for you.
I'll be there in a half hour.
Make that 20 minutes, and you'll be 10 minutes closer to happy days. The office personnel records of the West Coast underwriters turned up not 1, but 3 employees named Martha, which gave me 3 choices as to who had been supplying Yarbo with a list of West Coast insurance policy holders. Finding the exact Martha was even easier. On the phone, she had told me that she was calling from the office, and the night elevator operator's in and out book showed the signature of one Martha Kinsey, and I just couldn't wait to hear her report.
Who is it?
I've got a message from Mr. Yarbo.
Oh, just a minute. Message from James. Oh, what does he want?
Well, what he really wants is to get out of the bathroom. That's where I've got him locked up.
Who are you?
You ought to know who I am. I assume you're the one that told Yarbo he could be expecting a call from an insurance investigator named Dollar. Well, that's me.
Well, I don't care. James told me girls give out lists of names all the time. Sell them for mailing lists. 10 cents apiece. May not be ethical, but it's not against the law. James told me, and I believe James. Oh, he's the smartest man I ever knew.
He may be the smartest, but he's right in line to be numbered among the deadest. One of these fine mornings, the state is going to give him a cyanide egg for breakfast.
What do you mean?
You should know. Murder. Execution. Gas chamber.
Well, you can't prove a thing. James told me so, and he knows. Well, he's smart.
I hope he's not smart enough to pick a lock with a bath mat. Now, come on, sit down. You and I are going to have a nice, long talk.
We are not. I won't say a thing. I don't have to, unless you have a warrant, an indictment, and a court reporter. James told me so.
Yeah, I know. He's smart. But no matter what he told you, you're going to tell me a few things.
Oh, no, I'm not.
Oh, yes, you are.
Oh, no, I'm not.
Oh, yes, you are. So, I was wrong. Martha didn't tell me anything. But her stubborn attitude did. She was in love with Mr. Yarbo, a stupid, middle-aged woman having her last fling at romance, doing her best to keep her last chance alive in the person of the man who had made her his partner in crime. As crazy as it was, this grotesque pair of lovebirds created the only real emotion in the case to date and switched my thoughts from the widely scattered deaths which had brought me into the case and over to the single death of Yarbo's wife. Enclosed, find a transcript of statement made to me at 2 o'clock in the morning by the doctor who signed Mrs. Yarbo's death certificate.
Cause of death, cerebral hemorrhage. Result of severe fracture of skull. Region, medulla oblongata. Contributing factors, woman bathing in bathtub at home. Slipped and fell, striking head on shower spigot. Coroner's finding death due to misadventure. Accidental.
It took the doctor 2 minutes to get around to making that statement. I figured it would take Martha at least 30 minutes to get her hair out of her curlers and make herself presentable enough to risk being seen on the street. That left me 28 minutes to get back to Yarbo's house before she did, and I didn't need half that long. In the cab on my way over, I took inventory. 1, to date, Yarbo's alibis covering him on all the so-called revenge murders had been perfect. Too perfect. 2nd, when I first faced Yarbo, he screamed about his wife's death, not in the light of having lost his lady love, but in the light of having lost her insurance money. Just as my third and most important conclusion came upon me, the taxi came upon our destination, and I had to go to work. Once inside the little horror house on Lombard Street, I got set for a long search. But it turned out to be a short one, and it proved 2 things. Yarbo was not only a murderer, he was as crazy as he'd acted in having kept the evidence around. Okay, Yarbo, come on out.
Well, I hope you have enjoyed your waste of time, Mr. Dollar, as I've enjoyed my chance for meditation. You saw Martha, I suppose?
Yes, I saw Martha. Bless her silent little soul.
Yes, I was sure of Martha. She believes in me.
You can say that again. Come on out here.
Mr. Dollar, I suppose you are aware that this is the second time tonight you have been guilty of breaking and entering. I am, however, willing to forgive that, should you come to your senses and decide to go back to Hartford and leave me alone. Mind treading on the roses in the rug, Mr. Dollar?
Sorry, Yarbo. I fell for that gag earlier tonight.
People who smile at that joke give me the last laugh.
Now, look, Yarbo, I know exactly what you've been up to, and I know why you've done it. But your little war of nerves has got to stop.
It will never stop. No one can prove anything against me.
I can. I can prove that you haven't done a thing to bring about those accidental deaths you've been taking credit for. Martha has sat down that insurance office and notified you every time there's been an accidental death of a policyholder in this part of the country. Then you've written the company your little letters and gotten your little kicks out of it, right?
That's a lie, lie.
This is a switch, a guy yelling that loud that he's guilty.
You'll have to prove it. You will have to prove it.
Don't worry, chum. I'm not going to waste a breath proving murders that you didn't commit. But, brother, I'm really going to go to town on the one that you did. Your wife, Mr. Yarbo.
That is the most ridiculous statement you have yet made, young man. Look around you. Take note. I have profited by all the mistakes made by the original owners of these bloody souvenirs from Dr. Crippen on down. You see in me the living composite of them all. And I intend to stay that way, alive.
I'm afraid you will, but it's going to be inside an upholstered room. And this is what will put you there. Yeah, Mr. Yarbo, you carried your little hobby of crime souvenirs too far when you saved this hunk of pipe and the faucet with which you clubbed your wife to death.
She slipped and fell. She was in the tub.
I'm sure the police microscopes can give you a strong argument on that one. Now, come on. Now, let's make it easy on each other, shall we?
No, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. Let go.
Whoa.
Let go of me. You have to prove it.
James, what's he doing?
Help me, Martha. Help me. Hit him with something.
I'd have bet on myself against the two of them if I didn't have to fight while playing hopscotch over those roses in the carpet, about which I still wasn't quite sure. It was touch and go. Martha would try to touch the back of my head with something, and I'd go.
Do something, Martha. Do something.
I'll fix him.
The something Martha tried to do was pick up a heavy-based urn and aim it at me. She missed. It started to roll across the rosy carpet. When Yarbo saw where it was headed, he wrenched himself loose and dove to stop it. I dove the other way. He got there just too late. I didn't have to look twice to know he was dead. Fate had called James Yarbo up on his own carpet. When Martha threw that urn at me, it had rolled straight for the only rose in the rug that had been booby-trapped. Which only goes to prove that sometimes a rose by any other name can be anything but sweet. Expense account, item 6. $1.40. 3-month subscription, Love Life magazine. Sent to accessory to murder, Martha Kinsey, Tehachapi State Prison. I figured 3 months was about all she had, the judges and juries in California being rather efficient that way. Expense account, item 7. $6. Dinner and diving for pearls in a barrel of Blue Points at Fisherman's Wharf. Diving for Pearl's earring, which she lost while bending over the barrel trying to see what oysters look like. Item 8, $176.87. Airfare, San Francisco to Hartford. Expense account total, $942.08. Not including defense lawyer fees if you decide to sue me for not being able to add correctly. Signed, yours, truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, is produced and directed by Gordon T. Hughes and stars Charles Russell. Script by Paul Dudley and Gil Dowd. Featured in the cast were Jay Novello, Martha Wentworth, Paul Dubois, Gigi Pearson, and Larry Dobkin. The special music is written and conducted by Wilbur Hatch. Be sure to be with us at this same time next week when another unusual expense account is handed in by
yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Everyone is concerned about world affairs these days. If we want world peace, we'll have to have national peace first. In order to keep America's strength and prestige, in order to preserve her freedom, we must do away with group prejudice. Let's stop judging people by the color of their skin or the place where they worship and start considering them for what they do. We'll be sure to have a happier world. Stay tuned now for Vaughn Monroe and his caravan, following immediately on most of these CBS stations. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
The only reason I took this case on a savage island off the coast of New Guinea was that I'd been having a bout with a bottle of Old Fairy Godmother, and I was hoping to run into a native who would shrink my head.
This is another in the adventures of America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator, Johnny Dollar. At insurance investigation, Johnny Dollar is only an expert. At making out his expense account, he's an absolute genius.
Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to Seven Seas Maritime Underwriters Association, Hartford, Connecticut. Attention, Enos McCardle, General Manager. The following is an accounting of my expenditures during my assignment on the island of Tin-Yutan. Or, south of the equator, things can get hot in more ways than one. Or, Mother, call my draft board. I'm leaving the country again. Expense account, item 1, $830.81, and 3.5 shillings. Airfare, Hartford, Connecticut, to Port Moresby, territory of Papua, island of New Guinea. That's a long trip, brother. And by the time I got there, I felt that my spine could use a new seating arrangement. Expense account, item 2, $36.80. New outfit consisting of bush jacket, linen shorts, and a pith helmet. Item 3, 2 bits to street beggar regarding location of building in which was situated the Port Moresby branch of the Seven Seas Maritime Underwriters Association.
Oh, him, long house, him belong white fella. Little way, big bit, money. You catch him street alongside, hurry. You hear joyous big fella buckets, you fight him cry. Him long house belong from there, no?
No. Thanks a lot. I'll go look it up in a telephone book.
Oh!
Yes, sir, I'm Mr. Narky, and it's lovely having you here, Mr. Dollar.
I wish I could say the same about being here.
Oh, now you'll get used to it.
I don't expect to be here that long.
Cool. You're a feisty one, aren't you? You have a very large job to do.
Mm-hmm. Let's just say I'm usually very lucky. Look, first, let me tell you what I've been told so far, and then if I've left out anything, you fill me in, okay?
That'll be ticky-boo, Mr. Dollar.
Your company issued a group insurance policy to the Grand East Development Corporation in the United States. Now, that company used $50,000 life insurance policies as part of the inducement to get executives and divers for their pearling fleets.
That's right.
Well, about a month ago, they got word that the bodies of 2 of their 6-man crew on the island of Tin-Yutan had been found hacked to pieces. The other 4 men were missing, which adds up to a possible insurance payoff of $350,000. That's what I'm doing here, and that's all I know.
Well, that's all there is to know.
Oh, dandy. Has anybody done anything? What about the police?
They got their own troubles right here in the port. And as for the government officials, they'll look into it the next time around. Should be in about 90 days.
Oh, fine. That leaves you. What have you been doing to earn your money? Waiting for me?
Well, you could put it that way, Mr. Dollar.
Why haven't you gone over to Tin-Yutan?
Well, now you might say that I'm just not a man of great courage, eh? Hey, but say, I can help you to get there.
Oh, thanks. Heaps. Hey, ahoy there, aboard the Kittiwake.
What do you want?
I'm looking for Captain Steve Granger.
That's me. Come on aboard.
Captain Granger, I'm Johnny Dollar.
Pleased to meet you.
Mr. Narky of the Seven Seas Maritime Underwriters tells me you might be available for a charter job.
Where to?
Tin-Yutan.
Well, I guess so. Now, this is a big boat. It'll cost you big money.
Narky says your prices are fair. When do we leave?
Tide will be ready by 5. I can't be 2.
Good. I'll go get my toothbrush.
Good. And since you're going to Tin-Yutan, you might also bring one other thing. A 45.
The Kittiwake was a 2-masted schooner, and it skimmed the swell of the Arufa Sea like a saltwater bird after which it was named. I guess I'm like most guys. When I'm standing on my sea legs, I suddenly feel like a giant, standing alone against the world. Romance is no longer a sleazy blonde in a tinny bar. All of a sudden, it's all stars and sky, horizon. And when the wind and the water start to sing their song to me, any bad in me decides to reform. I was standing on top of the deck house like Captain Horatio Hornblower, with my legs spread and my outstretched hands gripping a pair of backstays, or at least that's what I think they were. And just about the time I'd reached the decision to trade my Hartford apartment for a berth on a Macassar pearling lugger, I heard a footstep from out of the night behind me.
Fair passage, huh?
Huh? Oh, yeah, Captain. Guess you caught me dreaming.
A waste of time. This is the only place where dreaming can't possibly be as good as living. It's none of my business, but this sudden jump in Tin-Yutan tourist trade, what's it all about?
What do you mean, sudden?
Well, this is the first time I've ever taken one passenger there, let alone two.
Two?
Yeah, another guy came to me after you did. He's below decks.
Oh.
Well, that ought to make you happy. It'll cut your fare in half.
About that, I'll just let the guy who pays my expenses be happy. As for me, I like privacy. Who is this guy?
Look, Dollar, I didn't ask you any questions, did I? Well, I didn't ask him any.
In my racket, coincidence is just another name for trouble. I wanted to get a look at and trade some words with my suddenly acquired fellow passenger, but he wasn't having any. He stuck to his cabin, claiming seasickness. However, from the native galley boy, I learned that he was eating like a horse, which in my book was a new way of being seasick. I borrowed a copy of Western Story magazine from the skipper, crawled into my bunk, and let the kitty-wake rock me to sleep. The next morning and afternoon were as uneventful as they were beautiful. At sunset, we raised the island of Tin-Yutan.
All right, boys. Here's where you go to work. House all sails. We'll go in under power. Hey, Beaky. You secure the jibs. We got enough help back here. Beaky, down full. Hey, flake that line. Don't leave it just lying in a big heap. All right, start the engine.
The big gas engine took over where the wind dropped us, and Captain Granger stood at his wheel, outfencing the submerged swords of coral with the slim prow of the kitty-wake. The ship had only inches of elbow room as we chewed our way through the boiling white passage of the reef, and my heart felt suddenly becalmed as we finally achieved the peaceful waters of the lagoon, which it protected.
Let go of the bower anchor! Hey, never mind that anchor. All bets are off. We're getting out of here.
Captain Steve Granger looked like a hard man to scare, but what I saw up ahead on the beach would scare a hard man. The broken body of a shipwrecked pearling lugger, and hanging from its foremast, the elongated body of a native who had been strangled out of one paradise and into another. Granger spun the wheel to starboard, and the kitty-wake started a retreat. But it wasn't that easy.
Cut your power, Granger, and straighten out your rudder. We're staying here.
Finally getting a chance to meet my fellow passenger. I couldn't very well shake hands with him, though, because he had a gun in each one of them.
What the devil's your game, Keeley?
I said cut your power. Got it! Keep that crew of Kanakas up forward. If you don't, we could use a few less natives around here.
Hey, by the clock.
Use English! I want to know what you're telling them. You, Dollar, get back there by the wheel. Keep your boys back there, Granger, I warned you. All right, you think I won't call your bluff?
You got guts. No, I'm native, you ugly pig.
You can't stop the other two, I can. Now, maybe you'll tell me what you were saying to him.
I told them there was a crazy man aboard and to go over the side. They decided to protect me.
They didn't make it. Now lay this rowboat in close to the beach and drop your hook. We're staying.
One Matt Keeley, 2 guns and what was left of 12 bullets had me outnumbered. I decided the best thing I could do was stay quiet and stay alive. And apparently the skipper felt the same way. After we dropped anchor, Keeley herded us into the small boat, and we rowed him ashore. His gun shoved us up a path, through a grove of nipa palms, and into a clearing. First natives I saw there were even deader than the ones we had just left on the kittiwake. About a dozen of them in a semicircle. And what added up to the red-crusted craters on their naked, withering bodies was sticking out of a window in a small wooden tin-roofed hut. The water-cooled barrel of a .30 caliber machine gun. South Sea Island magic, huh?
Oh, I heard you were a wise guy. Well, that can be changed. Now, come on, inside, both of you.
Keeley, my friend. Why, you're shooting over the water. What's the matter? Big trouble you have getting here? Huh?
Yeah, no, Portez, little one. This big blonde guy's the skipper. We got his boat, and it's a good one. This other one, he's an insurance investigator.
Oh, gee.
Yeah, Portez, I'm your new nursemaid. The insurance company sent me out here to look you up and take care of you. I hope I get around to it. My way.
Hey, Keeley, what's that you say? You got my boat.
Yeah, don't worry, big boy. We're going to pay you for it. We might even go as high as $500.
Well, that's great. It's only worth $50,000.
Oh, having 500 alive is better than 50,000 dead, my friend.
All right, what's your pitch?
It's simple. We want off this island. We got a long way to go. Cortez, me, and a native girl. She's in the next room. We may have to stay at sea for a couple of months.
Not on my ship.
Use your head, you won't get hurt. Now.
Hey, you woman. Get back in there.
No, I stay.
Louie, put her away. Keep her out of here. Ugly old cop. Yeah, for such an ugly broad, she sure has got a pretty name. Papalaya. Well, Dollar, you've seen yourself a South Sea Island princess.
She's your date, Keeley, not mine.
Boy, Dollar. They do look like they were meant for each other.
Save your wind for your sails, Granger. Now, what about your boat? Do we get it with a bill of sale or without one?
Either way's all right with me, if you'll take what goes.
With Cortez out of the room with Nature Girl, Granger's move looked like a good one. I was halfway across the room to make it 2 against 1 for the right side when the odds snapped back to even money again. Cortez came rushing back to join the fray, and he started fighting when he was 5 yards away. Just about then, Nature Girl came charging out of her quarters, swinging a chair over her head. I'd just gotten in position to shoot a right hand at Keeley's chin when another shot from Cortez's gun put me strictly on my own. Caught Granger square in the forehead, and he went down without a sound. I had time for one more try. Keeley's chin telegraphed a knockout message. Da-da-da, da-da-da, K.O., back up my arm. But something was wrong. Oh! I passed out.
In just a moment, we'll return to the second act of Johnny Dollar. But first, 50,000 or more, always in the jackpot on Sing It Again. Music by Gene Autry and Vaughn Monroe. Music and thrills with Gangbusters, Philip Marlowe, Johnny Dollar, and Danny Clover, the Broadway cop. That's the one-way ticket to top fun on most of these CBS stations every Saturday night. This fall, when you hear them all on CBS, Saturday nights promise top music, top adventure, and a chance at radio's top prize. Now, with our star, Charles Russell, we return to the second act of yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
It was a beautiful dream while it lasted. It wasn't night, it was morning. I was in a hammock slung between 2 banyan trees, framed in hibiscus bushes. Someone was bathing my face with a cool, damp, gardenia-scented cloth. A tame parrot was feeding me toasted pumpkin seeds. As a smooth-skinned, soft-skinned, cafe au lait-skinned, half-caste, and all-woman type girl gazed into my eyes and cooed softly in my ear. This doll would make Dorothy Lamour look like an Irish washerwoman. And the boots she was wearing a shorts around.
Oh, poor man. Please to wake up.
Hey, it wasn't a dream. It was really happening. Everything was there. Oh, but the parrot and his lousy pumpkin seeds. And who needed him?
Oh, poor man. Please to wake up.
Oh, where am I? Studio One? Huh? Who are you? I thought you were talking in my sleep.
I am Punta.
Oh, this is awful.
Awful?
Yeah, this all reminds me. My copy of Tales of the South Pacific is 17 days overdue at the Hartford Public Library.
How?
Forget it. Where am I? What am I doing here? And who are you?
I am Punta. You were brought here by the Princess Papalaya from the village of Great Death.
Oh, well, that place isn't hard to remember. Wish I could forget it. The princess? The one with the droopy ears, the long feet, the flat nose, the pot belly, the bad complexion, and dirty hair?
Yes, she is it.
She's a doll. Last time I saw her, she was swinging a chair at my head.
Oh, no. She hit other fella on head after he hit you. She saved you. She like you. She tell me save you for her.
Oh, what a way to die. Why didn't she hit me over the head with a chair? Say, you speak pretty fair English. Where'd you pick it up?
My father was Chinese merchant on Island of New Guinea. Same time as the war. You like GI?
I certainly do. Sorry I didn't bring a Hershey bar. But tell me, why did the Princess Papaya, whatever her name is, why did she save me?
I tell you. She like you.
Oh, stop saying that. All I want to know is, what was she doing with Keeley and Portez? You know Keeley and Portez, don't you?
Yes, I know them. They bad. I work in village until they make the great death. They kill all their friends and many natives. They bad.
Oh, now we're getting somewhere. What was that all about?
They die for pearl here for a long time. The native boy, they do not like these men. They do not dive anymore. So these bad men steal all pearl first. Then they steal princess to make boy dive some more.
Oh, kidnap, ransom, more pearls?
What is this? Ransom?
Oh, that means they'll hold the princess and won't give her back until they get what they want.
Oh.
But, Dream Girl, for me, a scheme like that wouldn't work with a gal like you. No, just holding you would be getting what I want. Only one thing wrong. My knees were getting a little knobby, thanks to a combination of insects and my new white linen shorts. However, Punta was good nerve medicine. The rest of the story came out later, and in her soft voice, it was a bloody kind of lullaby. She crooned me to sleep with the facts that the natives had tried to rescue their princess from Keeley and Portez, which gave me an answer for that semicircle of machine gun bodies outside their shack. Also that the princess had taken temporary refuge up in the hills. As nearly as I could figure out, I was left facing a very peculiar problem. 2 men out of 6 insured men had killed the other 4, and the 2 murderous survivors had this much going for them. To the insurance company, they were still worth $50,000 apiece on the hoof, which meant that my job was to keep alive 2 guys I felt very much like killing. And believe me, they felt the same about me. And with these beautiful, happy, restful thoughts, I left the call for darkness and went back to sleep. And who do you think I wound up with in my dreams? That hokey old parrot and his lousy pumpkin seeds.
Johnny, time to get up.
What? Oh.
Hurry from your sleep, Johnny. There is more trouble.
Hey, somebody's getting strafed. What's going on?
They are killing again with their machine gun. My people trying to fight them off the island, but they are being killed. Now you must go and lead my people. Help them kill those bad men.
This you won't understand, gorgeous, but my job is to stop your people and save Keeley and Portez.
Johnny, you say that now? You are one of them.
No, I'm not one of them. I told you wouldn't understand. There's something I don't understand. Why don't they leave? They've got what they want. Why don't they pick up their pearls and the schooner and the rotten hides and get out of here?
Johnny, they do not have the pearl. Here, see? This one is for you.
Black. Wow. You say for me? Where'd it come from?
The princess, she come back some time ago. She tell me she took all their pearl. She tell me to tell you that this black pearl, not company pearl, this her own for you. She like you.
Well, I like her, too. Just the way she is, up in the hills. Right now, I wish you looked like her.
Oh, Johnny, you don't like the way I look like I am?
I love the way you look like you are.
Why you say that?
Because if you did look like her, I think I'd have an idea that would stop those men. Yeah. Turn around.
Yes, Johnny.
Oh, this'll be the crime of the year, but maybe I can do it. And I did. I gave Punta a thorough loss of beauty treatment. With the help of padding, dye, mud, and other jungle cosmetics, I had, at the end of an hour, a reasonable facsimile of Papalaya, the unprettiest princess in the history of royalty. I briefed the suddenly uglified Punta on what she was to do and had her lead me most of the way back to the fortress shack and the clearing. She put a few words on the jungle grapevine, and by the time they reached the end, the native side of the battle, the home team, ceased activities. Hey, Keeley! Cortez! Time! Cut! Hold it! There's nobody here to shoot at but me, and I want to talk.
Stay where you are, Dollar. Don't move. We'll shoot at anything we hear moving. Brother, we're getting so we can play this thing by ear. Yeah? Close enough? See what we mean? Now, what do you want?
The princess has the pearls, and I've got the princess. I want to make a trade.
What kind of trade?
You get the princess and the pearls. We get rid of you. All this killing stops, and you're alive.
We're supposed to believe you got the princess?
You don't have to, but here's something you can believe. You'll never get it this way. Sooner or later, you're going to run out of ammunition or food or water or everything at once.
We still don't know you got the princess. And we ain't buying that pig in any pool. We want to see her.
You'll see her when you're out of that shack and on the boat.
We ain't moving out of here in the dark.
Nobody's asking you to. Take me until dawn to get the princess down out of the hills.
Okay, supposing we decide to do business. How do we know we don't get swamped by those natives between here and the boat?
I'll take care of that. You can depend on it. Remember, my job is to keep you two guys alive and save the company I'm working for $100,000.
All right, we'll give you a chance. We'll be on the boat at dawn watching the shoreline, and this machine gun will be at the rail watching the shoreline with us. You send out the princess. Hello?
You got a deal. And that ain't all you're gonna get. I hope. I hit the beach 2 hours before dawn, with Punta ready to paddle me out to the kittiwake in a native canoe. I wanted to be there with all weapons handy when Keeley and Cortez stuck their heads up over the rail. But it seems they had thought of that, too. When we hit the sand, there they were, in the small boat, halfway out to the mooring.
Oh, Johnny, there they are. They spoil everything.
Stay out of sight, Punta. Yeah, they spoil everything, but not for long. Well, one thing for sure, I can't use the canoe. Tell me something. Are there sharks in this lagoon?
Oh, no, not many.
Well, I hope traffic is light tonight. I'm going to chance it. Okay, Punta, you better stay here. I'm going a few hundred yards up the beach and swim for it.
Johnny, be careful.
Oh, baby doll, you sound so pretty, and you look so ugly. The water was warmer, and the pool at the Hartford Y certainly not as much fun. I spent most of the trip trying to keep from splashing and watching for shark rudders around me. That was good in a way. Helped me forget that I don't swim very well. 45 minutes later, I was still half alive, looking for a handhold on the slimy waterline of the kittiwake on the seaward side. And there I stayed for the next hour and a quarter, listening to Keeley and Cortez on the other side of the boat, nursing their machine gun and waiting like I was for the dawn.
Okay, Cortez, clear your gun. Canoe's pushing over from the shoreline.
I see it. Put the glasses on it. We don't go have no mistake. Is it the princess?
Yeah, wait till I get her in focus. They'll tell me. These glasses will bring in every line in her fat, ugly face.
Those glasses brought something else, if they were that good. A hop in my heart, a lump in my throat. I had to move faster than I figured to. I had to get into action while their attention was all on the approaching canoe, and before they discovered that its passenger was not the princess, but her stand-in, Punta. I grabbed the gunwale, then the rail, cursing every drift that splashed back into the water off my body. I went slipping and sliding and rushing across the deck. Keeley was leaning forward, looking through the glasses, his thighs against the rail, so I hit him first, sent him flying over the side. With or without a machine gun, Louis was a tough guy. Oh, there's one for the road, chum. I turned around to see what had to be done to take care of Keeley and saw that it was already being taken care of by a canoe paddle in the hands of an irate dame. Punta! Punta! Don't kill him! I want him alive! Punta, stop!
No, no. I kill enemy of man I love.
Huh? Who? Oh, no! Princess Papalaya had pulled a rank on Punta and demanded that she be the one to come out to the ship in the canoe. Because, as she kept telling me on the voyage back to New Guinea, she liked me. Oh, well, she may have been awful ugly, but she was also an awful good sailor. And knowing the way to a sailor's heart, I bought her a present. Expense account, item 4, $10. Tattooing job on the Princess Papalaya's fat right shoulder. A picture of a ship under full sail. So now when she laughs, it goes bounding over the waves. Expense account, item 5, $40. Long-winded cable to 7 Seas Maritime underwriters. That's you, gentlemen. Recommending immediate cancellation of policies covering the lives of Keeley and Cortez, who were in the hands of the New Guinea officials and looking forward to a short life and an unmerry one. Item 6, $831.81, 3.5 shillings. Airfare, Port Moresby to Hartford. Item 7, 48 cents. Past due charges at 2 cents per day. Hartford Public Library, on my copy of Tales of the South Pacific, which incidentally I never did get around to reading. After all, it'd be an utter waste of time for a man who has known a gal like Punta. Expense account total $3,286.44. Signed, yours, truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, is produced and directed by Gordon T. Hughes and stars Charles Russell. Script by Paul Dudley and Gil Dowd. Featured in the cast were Mary Shipp, D.J. Thompson, Tom Holland, Clark Gordon, Willard Waterman, and Larry Dobkin. The special music is written and conducted by Leith Stevens. Your announcer is Paul Masterson. Be sure to be with us at this same time next week when another unusual expense account is handed in by...
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Who's got the nation's most popular band? Vaughn Monroe. And who's the nation's most popular singing band leader? Vaughn Monroe again. Now, who brings you a caravan of the nation's most popular tunes every Saturday night over most of these same CBS stations? You guessed it, it's Vaughn Monroe. That's why everyone listens on Saturday nights to the Vaughn Monroe Show on CBS, where this fall you hear them all. Stay tuned now for Vaughn Monroe and his caravan, who follow immediately on most of these stations. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
The most popular sport on Boston's Charles River is rowing in one-man sculls. Or rather, it was the most popular sport, that is, until they took to beating on one man's skull. Mine.
This is another in the adventures of America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator, Johnny Dollar. At insurance investigation, Johnny Dollar is only an expert. At making out his expense account, he's an absolute genius.
Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to Miss Melanie Carter, Pinckney Street, Beacon Hill, Boston. The following is an accounting of my expenditures during assignment as your representative, investigating list of your relatives who might be interested in murdering you for your insurance, or who'd like to rock the old doll to sleep, or the unnice niece and the charming young rat who put the few in the word nephew. Expense account item 1, $5.98, airfare, Hartford to Boston. Item 2, $3 1/4, cab fare, Logan Airport to your residence on Beacon Hill.
Who is it?
This is Mr. Dollar, the insurance man from Hartford.
Good. Just a minute. Come in.
An electric latch unlocked the door of your flat, and I stepped through, straight out of this century into the last. It was another world, the remnants of which you see today in antique shops, including those Chinese wind chimes that tinkled over by the window. And you, its tiny and aged queen, sat across the 19th century room in your modern throne, that chromium and black leather wheelchair.
Come in, Mr. Dollar. Oh,
What's the matter, ma'am?
nothing. You just remind me of someone I once knew, that's all. He was so... Come, sit down over here.
Thank you, Miss Carter. I take it you are Miss Carter.
Oh, yes, indeed. You probably expected a younger woman.
Maybe, but certainly not one any more attractive.
Oh. You hold on to that gallantry of yours, young man. It's very difficult to find these days. And a very precious treasure to women.
Miss Carter, since you seem to know my name, I guess there's not much use in my telling you that I'm the investigator recommended by your insurance company, Royal Life.
Oh, yes, they sent me a telegram saying you would be here.
No telephone?
No telephone. You see, Mr. Dollar, I was once a very happy young lady. Yesterday was very good to me. Today and tomorrow, who knows? And why take chances? What little life I have left, I want to enjoy. That is why I've sent for you.
You mean somebody told you I was an early American insurance investigator?
No, my dear. It's just that experience is such a good teacher. Mr. Dollar, many years ago, my husband was murdered for his insurance money by his very own brother. Would you hand me my smelling salts, please?
Yes, certainly. Here you are.
Well, fate was very quick in passing judgment on the case, because the brother was killed by a runaway horse as he was leaving the scene of his terrible crime. I not only received my half of the insurance money, but also the half that would someday have gone to him.
Oh, and now you feel that your life may be in danger for the same reason.
Oh, well, whether my life is actually in danger is not the most important thing. It is my mind that is in danger. The beneficiaries to all of my insurance, and as the company may have told you, it is a lot of insurance, are my niece and my nephew, the children of that murderer. You see, I adopted them after their father's death. Oh, bad blood is bad blood, Mr. Dollar. And I want you to make sure that I am not engulfed by it.
So, with the two names and addresses you gave me, written in your precise copperplate handwriting, I set out to give the once-over lightly to the two people you were afraid might someday give you a once-over not so lightly. Move number 1, a quick trip up the financial pathways worn bare by credit bureaus, income tax investigators, and other types of snoops. I learned that thanks to your generosity, both your niece and your nephew had just enough to live graciously on, and thanks to your frugality, no more. Move number 2, a quick trip to Cambridge, the address of your nephew, Chalmers Carter, a stylish fire trap near Harvard Square. A maid let me in and summoned her mistress. Her entrance was announced by the jangling of a stack of bracelets and bangles running up her arm.
So sorry to keep you waiting, darling. What was it you wanted?
How do you do? Mrs. Carter?
Oh, yes. Yes, I'm Crystal Carter. Of course. Oh, I say, that's a beautiful suit you're wearing. It's not Boston, I can tell.
No, New York. $185. Right off the racks. Mrs. Carter, the maid tells me your husband isn't at home.
Oh, I know. He isn't?
Well, when do you expect him back?
He always calls me before he comes. Why?
I want to talk to him. That's why. Business, you know, that old stuff.
Oh, business. Who can have any fun business? Hmm? Who are you, anyway? Sit down.
I'm a guy who suddenly knows what the old-fashioned Iceman must have felt like.
Huh? Oh. Who are you, I ask?
Mrs. Carter, I am what is known in the investment business as a finder. My job is to find money for people who have bona fide projects, but who are short on cash with which to develop them.
Oh, that sounds like a lovely job.
It is, when you find the money. You work on a percentage. Now, right now out in California, there's a little man who some time ago bought a lot of oil rights covering a big piece of property. It's right near Newhall, where there's been a lot of gushers coming in. He's got the property. I'm looking for the money with which to develop it. I hoped your husband would be interested.
Oil? There's a lot of money in oil. Well, of course he's interested. I'll call him right away.
Before you do, maybe I'd better tell you. What I'm looking for is a lot of money.
Uh-huh.
So unless your husband has a lot available, it'll be no use.
Well, he can get it. I'm sure he can get it. He's often told me all he needed was one big chance. Maybe this is it. I know where to reach him on the phone. Where can he reach you?
The chance to make a lot of quick money melted the love light right out of Crystal Carter's eyes. And if anything, the money look that replaced it was even wilder. She moved fast. By the time I got back to my hotel, there was a message there telling me where I could find her husband, Chalmers. And her directions took me back into a taxi, back across the Charles River, and move number 3 to the Bayshore Trotting Club, a fancy little track where millionaires who like the smell of stables see how fast they can make horses trot. Chalmers Carter was up there among the rest, in spirit if not in prosperity, sitting in the low flat grandstand watching the afternoon workouts, knowingly holding a stopwatch in his hand and keeping one eye on a blaze-faced filly who was kicking up the dust in the racing oval, and one ear on me. And as you may or may not know, Mr. Carter, the best thing about an oil investment, the first 27% of your income from it is tax-free.
What? Say that again.
That's right. The first 27%, tax-free.
Dollar, just how much money do you need?
About 120,000 should do it.
120,000, huh? All right, I'll see what I can do about it.
What did you say about 120,000, Carter?
George...
When you get your hands on 120,000, Chalmers, don't forget the 500 you owe me.
Move number 4. A quick trip back across the one more river I seem to have to cross, the Charles, to a pompous little apartment on Bay State Road, where I found your niece, Sophia. Very pretty, but very stuffy.
Your proposition interests me. However, I would naturally first have to check everything very closely with my business advisor.
Oh, naturally. This first visit is only to find out whether you are interested and whether you do have money immediately available.
Immediately?
Yes.
I see. Very well. I think it can be managed.
Then, having made those moves, I was in a hurry to move you out of the way, which led me straight back to your flat on Pinckney Street, Beacon Hill. And there, once again, I bumped into what I've learned to expect in my racket, the unexpected. Your apartment door was slightly open. Your wheelchair was empty. And from outside, I saw you across the room, standing there, talking into something that earlier in the day you had very deliberately told me you didn't have. A telephone.
Oh, Joseph, I'm so glad I was able to reach you. Now listen, I have another little job for you to do. I want you to come right over. Both of you. You need Rocky, huh? You know where it is? No, this time it's somebody I have to get rid of.
I took up a plant in the antique store across the street and waited for your visitors. They were charming. Just the sort of folks you'd expect to see on Beacon Hill, dropping in for a spot of afternoon tea. They were the kind of guys who never wear wristwatches, handcuffs being rough on watch crystals. I gave him a short lead upstairs, then pussyfooted up behind him. Oh, one of these days my right eye is going to wind up shaped like a keyhole, with my left ear shaped like a cauliflower from pressing against door panels.
It's so nice having you young fellows around to depend on. Sit down, sit down. You want some nice tea and cake?
No, thanks, dear. We just had some pizza and beer.
Yeah, Joe and me just had some pizza and beer.
What's on your mind, Grandma?
Yeah, what's on your mind, Grandma?
Well, boys, you know how worried I've been
Yeah.
about that family of mine. Well, things are even worse now.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah, what's up?
Well, I want you to understand that it wasn't that I didn't have complete faith in your ability to protect them.
Sure.
But I finally turned to my insurance company, hoping to save a few dollars.
Yeah.
They sent a scoundrel named Dollar from Hartford to protect me, mind you. And do you know what he did?
No, what'd he do?
No, what did he do?
Well, just to make sure this Dollar fellow, I called a private detective and had him followed when he left here.
Yeah, good.
And that detective told me that Dollar went to Sophia and my nephew Chalmers and is trying to entice them to kill me for my insurance money so they can buy some phony oil stock he's trying to sell them.
Huh? That guy sounds like a big operator.
Yeah, that guy sounds like a big operator.
Well, whatever he is, I want that young man out of the way.
Grandma, dear, you don't really mean out of the way.
That's exactly what I mean.
Joseph, I see something I don't like very much.
What is it?
Some shadows moving around under the edge of the front door.
Well, what are we waiting for?
Yeah.
Come here, you!
I wasn't a match for one of those guys, let alone two. And Rocky, Big Sir Echo, not only repeated everything Joe said, he repeated everything Joe did.
Take this! Oh!
Yeah, take
This! Oh!
That's good. That's very good. Now, that's him. That's Dollar. You hold him. Hold him. Don't let him get away.
Mr. Dollar, unless you're in a big hurry to get measured for a cement suit, don't start no funny business.
Don't worry. I feel about as funny as a funeral. My own.
Well, I hope you've learned your lesson. Although, don't you think for a minute it's all over. This'll teach you honesty is the best policy, and cheaters never prosper.
Hey, take it easy, Grandma, dear. This boy will not ever bother you again. Come on, Buster.
Yeah. Come on, Buster.
Yeah. Go on, Buster.
In just a moment, we will return to the second act of Johnny Dollar. But first, this fall, you hear them all on CBS, and you hear from the top mystery writers as well as top stars like Jack Benny, Bing Crosby, and the Lux Radio Theater luminaries. One such master of mystery, Raymond Chandler, and his world-famous private eye, Philip Marlowe, will be heard from later tonight on most of these same CBS stations. Be sure to hear this latest, hard-bitten, wisecracking adventure of Philip Marlowe later tonight, won't you?
Tune in this fall for the shows that you love best of all. Listen carefully, here's the address. It's CBS.
Now, with our star, Charles Russell, we return to the second act of Yours Truly, Johnny Dollar.
Usually, when people are taken for a ride, at least it's a free one. However, Joseph and his friend Rocky didn't feel that way. So, expense account, item 3, $1.20, cab fare, up Tremont Street toward Boston's South End. The three of us sat packed in the back of the taxi with me in the middle. And just as we passed King's Chapel burying ground, Rocky and Joseph suddenly felt the urge to be alone with me.
Hey, driver, crank up your window. We wish to be in private.
As it happens, I can't. The crank fell off.
Yeah, you and your lousy cab.
Yeah, you and your lousy kid.
Well, step on it.
There were also things to step on in Joe's lousy hotel. Up in his room, they gave me the hot seat of honor on the edge of the bed, stood over me, one on each side, and issued me an invitation, but not to dance.
We think you are a smart guy, Dollar, and we want a piece of your action.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, Joe, what are you talking about?
That. You just keep your muscles handy. I do the thinking and the talking.
Okay, so go do it.
Huh? What?
Do it.
Yeah. Let's see. Where was we? Yeah. Like I was saying, Dollar, you got a good racket, and we want a piece of your action.
Okay, Joe. What do you think my action is?
Listen, buddy, I've been around hustlers all my life, so you ain't fooling me. You set up the old lady to get knocked off just like she said. In the meantime, you get all the people who will collect her insurance nice and ready to sell them some no-good oil stock. Your hands are clean, except for a bush league swindle. The most you could get out of that is from 3 to 5 years, and that's the only chance you're taking.
Joe, you're a genius. Well, let me ask you one thing, though. Why should I go to all that trouble? Why shouldn't I just sell my hot oil stock to the old lady in the first place and save all that extra trouble?
That's where guys like you are smarter than guys like me. You got your reasons. You ain't kidding nobody. Huh? We like the way you operate. And we want in.
I guess I've found myself a pair of partners.
Good. Shake.
Yeah, shake.
One at a time. Joe? Rocky?
Oh, I'm sorry.
This is great. Yeah, Rocky and me have been taking Grandma for a few bucks now and then, protecting her from them squares she's afraid of. But I never thought it would turn into anything as big as this.
Just out of curiosity, how'd you guys meet Grandma in the first place?
We was doing a little social break-in and then one night, and it turned out to be her house, yeah? She got the drop on us. We seen her there in her wheelchair, pushed her into the bedroom, and went to work.
Yeah, went to work. And the next thing we know, she's standing there pointing a whole shotgun at us. What?
You creep. That was no shotgun.
What?
What are you? It's a very hysterical musket.
Oh.
You stupid. She told me. Let's see, where was we? Anyway, that's how we met her. She made us a deal. She wouldn't call the cops if we'd done her a turn. Besides, she paid us for it. We ought to have a bottle sent up, yeah?
What for?
Well, all we got to do is wait till the nephew or the niece knock off their ante. So why not have a drink while we're waiting?
Oh, whoa, now hold everything. That's not the way to do it.
How come?
Yeah, how come?
Now, look, if we sit here, we blow a big chance. The chance to get rid of whoever murders the old doll. We see who do it. We turn them in. They're out of the way, and the insurance money goes to the other one. Then I go to work on them.
Yeah. You see what I mean, Rocky? That's why guys like him has got more brains than guys like me.
Yeah, more brains than guys like me, too.
In spades. Okay, Dollar, what do we do?
I was in a bad spot, but I'd put you, Auntie Carter, in a worse one, hoping to attract any bad apples that might be hanging on your family tree. Then all of a sudden you decided I was a worm and eliminated me as your #1 protector. Among your spoiled family fruit, there was nephew Chalmers, fishy-eyed and money-hungry, his wife Crystal, who was no killer to look at, but who could be sure of her with a gun in her hand. Then there was Sophia. She was stuffy, but strangely reminded me of a precocious young lady who strangled her mother so that she might wear her evening gown to her high school senior prom. So, when Joseph, expert in giving a fellow's eye a coat of many colors, asked me, what do we do now, I honestly didn't know. The best answer I could come up with was get back to where we could keep an eye on your address on Pinckney Street. But when we got there, Pinckney Street was blocked off by blue uniforms, and reinforcements were still arriving.
Hey, what's going on?
Yeah, what's going on?
Well, you gotta be sure of one thing. This ain't the policeman's ball. Look, how well do you guys know to the Boston police?
Some of their best quizmasters have failed to make us talk.
Yeah, they failed to make us talk.
Okay, you better let me go ahead.
Not too far ahead.
Don't worry.
Hey, look, Joseph, the cops are coming down out of her house.
Oh. What do you mean now? Looks like the job is all done.
Yeah, I'd better get up the hill and find out for sure.
Don't forget, partner, we're watching.
Don't worry.
Keep moving, folks, will you? Just keep moving, mister.
Hey, officer. Officer.
Yeah?
I'm Dollar of the Boston Globe.
Ah.
What's going on? Am I going to make the front page?
Yeah, you might.
Well, what's it all about?
Some dame, a friend of the commissioner's, called for protection.
Oh, I thought it was a murder.
It is. By the time we get here, the dame up there is colder than Sunday morning beans.
How do you like that?
Hey, Dollar, when you're writing this story, my name is Fred Mosher.
Huh? Oh, yeah, Fred Mosher.
Yeah, I used to play basketball for the Boys Club of Boston. When you're writing this story, put my name in, will you? The wife will get a kick out of it. Well, I gotta get back to headquarters.
Headquarters? Hey, officer. Fred. Yeah? Come here. Listen, I'll see that you get your name in the paper if you do me a favor.
Oh.
Act like you're arresting me, will you? A couple of friends of mine are just down the street. I want to pull a gag on them.
Sure. With or without handcuffs.
Anyway, just grab me by the elbow and throw me in that squad car. I could tell by the eyes of Joseph and Rocky that I had just successfully dissolved a partnership. At the corner of Arlington and Boylston, I swapped the patrol car for a cab. And, what do you know? I headed back across the Charles River to Cambridge.
Oh. Hello, darling. I'm sorry the maid wasn't here to answer the door. I'm all alone. Isn't that good? Come on in. Come on. Right in here.
Would you mind, Crystal, walking just a few more steps ahead of me? It'll make you easier to follow.
Oh, you. Here we are. Make yourself at home.
Where's your husband?
Oh, stop worrying about my husband. He had to go out for a while on business. I told you before, he always calls before he comes home. In case I wanted to bring something.
How long has he been gone?
I wish you'd stop worrying about Shaw. Why don't you start paying some attention to little Crystal?
Wait a minute now. Stop. Get a grip on yourself. Wait, watch it.
No.
Crystal, what are you up to?
Oh, dear. Stop it. Stop it, I say.
Oh, it's you, Dollar. A finder, huh? Just what are you trying to find?
Now, wait a minute, Carter.
Oh, Chalmers, thank heavens you got here. He forced his way in. He's from New York.
I am not. I'm from Hartford. It's only my suit that's from New York.
Why, you despicable cad. I've a good notion to thrash you to within an inch of your life.
I was certainly in no position to ask any questions around there, so I hit him a shot in the whiskers and left. And where do you think I went? Back across the Charles River to Bay State Road and Niece Sophia's pompous little apartment. Nobody answered, so I broke rule number 3 in the book of how not to get your head split open when nobody answers the door. Picked the burglar's friend type lock and went in. I thought at first I'd set off a new, polite kind of burglar alarm, but it was only a grandfather clock tolling out 10 p.m. as the moonlight boffed me smack in the kisser. First thing I saw out the window was my friend the Charles River, over which I'd made more crosses than the X-Man in a tic-tac-toe tournament. My tongue was as dry as that was wet. The second thing I saw, thanks to my fountain pen-type flashlight, was an open drawer in a kidney-shaped desk. Sophia Carter was no housekeeper. The white paper lining inside it was dusty, except for the portion that held the vacant outline of a junior miss-sized revolver. Then the lights went on.
Well, Mr. Dollar, you'll be the death of me yet.
Auntie, what are you doing alive?
Oh, you're surprised. You hoped I'd be dead, didn't you? Well, I'm not. I'm not, you see?
Yeah, I sure do see.
But you'll be dead if I pull this trigger.
Honey, when I don't walk in on a man with a gun in his hand, it's a matter of courage. When I don't throw a flying tackle on a girl with a gun in her hand, it's a matter of etiquette. And when I don't get rough with an old lady holding a gun in her hand, it's a matter of knowing that at your age, your reflexes are gone. You can be taught kind of things. With me holding your gun hand straight up overhead, I hope nobody's at home upstairs. Give me that.
Let me go! Let me go! Don't you kill me. Everybody's trying to kill me. Sophia was when she came to my flat this afternoon.
Oh, which must mean that Sophia is the body in your flat tonight. The body I thought was yours.
I know she was. She's been threatening to kill me for years.
Now, what's that you've got in your other hand?
No, you can't.
Here, give it to me
No,
now.
no, you can't
Come
read
on.
it. No, no, no.
What I ripped out of her hand was a very old note written on very old paper.
Give me that.
And reading it, what with the clawing, scratching 82-year-old woman tucked under one arm, it read like a voice from out of the past.
That is mine.
The voice of that 82-year-old woman's long-dead husband, Caleb Carter.
To my beloved niece, Sophia, in these last remaining moments of consciousness, I tell you this. My wife, Melanie, has made repeated attempts upon my life. This time, I'm afraid she has succeeded. Also, crushing the life from your father, my brother, beneath the wheels of her carriage as he rushed to my rescue.
Well, I guess this means that Sophia had this letter and has been holding it over your head for years.
Yes. She's been blackmailing me. Blackmailing me. Blackmailing me.
Melanie, it was your conscience that first called me into this case to protect you from your relatives. It was your conscience that hired that private detective to protect you from me. And it was your conscience that got you mixed up with Joe and Rocky to protect you from the detective and me. Then again, it was that same old conscience that called in the police to protect you from your gangster friends. Now, there's only one more thing, I hope.
What's that?
That same conscience will prevent you from making an undignified surrender. My arm.
Thank you, young man. Your arm.
Expense account, item 4, $15, pipe and slippers. Appeasement to Chalmers Carter, nephew of the accused. To give him a symbol that all I was really trying to find was a way to straighten out his home life. Item 5, $50, a personally autographed check in lieu of his name in the paper to Patrolman Fred Mosier, so that the wife would still get a kick out of the publication of his name on the payable to line of said check. Expense account item 6, $15. Gift to Joseph and Rocky. One roll of tickets on the River Queen sightseeing boat, which gives daily round-trip tours of the Charles River. Maybe they'll do me a favor and fall in. Item 7, $5.98. Airfare, Boston to Hartford. Expense account total? What's the use? Where you are now, Aunt Melanie Carter, you're never going to be in a position to pay. I won't even bother to sign it. Yours, truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, is produced and directed by Gordon T. Hughes and stars Charles Russell. Script by Paul Dudley and Gil Dowd. Be sure to be with us at this same time next week when another unusual expense account is handed in by...
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.